Today, I analysed the entirety of Apology Tour, so sit back and grab some popcorn because this is going to be wild. Hope you guys enjoy. Alright, we've got 4 minutes and 36 seconds to get through, so let's just get straight into it.
Hello, Stolas.
Okay, so as we see, the first thing that Stolas does when he sees Blitz climb over that fence is have a severe frown on his face and just bury his face in that book. He does not want to talk to Blitz right now. And one thing that I will address is that some people think that this scene takes place a month after full moon, but I personally think that it's the next day. And going off that way of thinking, it just opens up a lot more opportunities to analyze and probably makes this video a lot longer, seeing as there's a lot more connotations to the night before. So yeah, I will be assuming that this happens around 12 hours after the last episode, though of course I could be completely wrong, but anyway, that thought itself won't come up as often as you might think. It'll only add like, what, 2 minutes of running time to this video, so it's not much. But here is where we drift into analysis mode now. As we can see, Blitz is climbing over this fence, and that kind of signals something there, that Stolas doesn't want to see him, and Blitz has had to go to such lengths as to climb over the fence to go and see him. And going off this, you can insinuate that the doors were locked and the windows, so he literally could not get in, so he had to climb over the fence, which just shows that Stolas really doesn't want to see him because he's taking these extra precautions. He's not responding to his messages. We see that later on as well. He still doesn't respond to the messages, well, especially not after this argument. So yeah, he doesn't really want to see him, but he's here now, so whatever.
You haven't been answering my text, and I sent you a bunch of funny shit, so what gives?
I was hoping my lack of ha-has in response to the photos you sent would be an indicator I didn't want to talk right now.
Okay, so there's some confirmation that he wasn't responding to the messages, so obviously Blitz is confused, and you can see in his eyes, he's very worried, like he has a worried look on his face. He's genuinely concerned, maybe not about Stolas' mental state, but more about the relationship and more of the deal. The arrangement that they had that we can see Blitz was beginning to enjoy in full moon, it's just been ripped from him, from his life, taken once again under his nose completely suddenly. It really emphasizes the feeling of you don't understand the worth of something until it's gone. Until you can no longer do something, you don't realize how much you actually enjoyed it and valued it in your life as a part of your routine, well-being, all those things. So you can see how worried Blitz is when he realizes since Stolas is no longer reacting to his messages, replying, nothing, it's something that Blitz has never seen Stolas do before. So he would have noticed that and realized, oh wait, this is kind of serious. And that ultimately is what led Blitz to come in here this morning. But now on to Stolas. Stolas is very monotone in his reply when Blitz asks him why he's not been responding to his messages, and he just very sarcastically states the obvious, because Stolas really tore his heart out, really got deep in the feels in full moon, and expressed to Blitz his true emotions. So now that he's done all that, he's poured his heart out in front of him, and Blitz just disregards it, pushes it aside, and just takes it as a joke, which then obviously leads to Blitz being very upset and shouting and screaming, all that stuff. Stolas is very drained, which is what makes me think obviously that it's the next day, it's the day afterwards, because he's got no emotion left in him to show. Only a neutral one that doesn't take much effort to do. He's really just trying to have some time on his own right now and process his thoughts, and Blitz is invading that space, literally. And I feel like the general consensus in the community now is that they just need to leave each other alone by this point, especially by the end of this episode. Stolas is trying to be happy with some other guy, maybe it's just a one-night stand, but anyway, he's trying to be happy with other people and talk to others, and Blitz is trying to improve on himself and become a better person. So right now, what I and many others agree upon, they've both done wrong, but you can't really label one or the other as at fault, and they should either attempt to apologize for their actions, or leave each other alone until they're both prepared to speak again and then apologize. And this here is Blitz's first attempt at saying sorry, and, well, and then there was his second attempt, which, well, so really what I consider to be the best course of action is that they both leave each other alone and improve upon themselves and become happier, and then they go and apologize to each other. And you know what? Screw the emphasis on the apology. More emphasis on the each other, because they've both done wrong to each other. But that still doesn't mean that I'm saying that they're both at fault. It's very confusing, but if you've seen a video of mine before, you'll understand that I personally think that they're both to blame, yet neither of them are. If you need an explanation for that, you can go and see one of my other videos. They go a lot more in depth on this situation.
Oh, come on, Stolas. We just had a rough night. Besides, you always want to hear from me.
Blitz.
Now, as we can see, the first thing that Blitz jumps to is arousal to attempt to persuade Stolas back into a good mood. He's attempting to brush it off, saying, oh, it was just a rough night, blah, 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 but really it isn't. Obviously, we know that, but we can't say that to them. Complex characters and all that. But really, if you think about it, Blitz is going at this with the wrong intentions. He wants the arrangement back so he can be happy and doing that stuff, escaping from his reality. Whereas Stolas, now at least, wants Blitz to be happy and present in the moment while they're together. He doesn't want him to use it as an escape like he does now. But that's why I put that little bit in brackets then. Originally, Stolas only wanted this arrangement for what was brought to the table regarding him, the pleasure and stuff. And though his mindset has changed over time, his way of showing that new mindset change hasn't. He's remained the same in his actions. He still teased him, he still mentioned that he's an imp, and he still talked down to him in a very playful sense, yes, but still. Despite the fantasy, if he wants to send a message to Blitz that's not that, he would have had to stray away from what he usually does to keep Blitz engaged. But that in turn will disengage Blitz because it's such a sudden change, he wouldn't know how to adapt to it, so he'd just run away from the situation. That's what Blitz is like. He did it with Verosika when she changed up her mood and finally said that she loved him and wanted an actual relationship with him that was fulfilling and stuff like that. He immediately noticed that and went, whoa, I'm gonna run away from the situation, and did all that bad stuff that he did, which I am laughing at, but I will say it is a bad situation for Verosika. But anyway, let's just ignore that for now. This is about Stolitz. So yeah, Stolas could have done better if he just changed up his actions and showed that he wanted to love Blitz and he wanted to cherish him, and he did cherish him, not for being an imp and not for bringing him pleasure, but for bringing him happiness. Yes, that would have been better on Stolas' side, that's what he could have done. But knowing Blitz and how he's reacted once other partners have started to show affection to him, that would almost rule it out because we know how he would act, so we can assume, based on prior knowledge of what we know of Blitz, how he would act if Stolas did do that. So yes, as I said in my full moon analysis, Stolas did do wrong by dumping all of these new actions and emotions onto him, and like I said in that video, it could have been done in a more subtle way, but the way that some people are bringing it up, like, you know, you could just change completely and show him that you love him and stuff, but that wouldn't necessarily work. It would have had to be gradual over time, little hints being dropped. A gradual change. All Stolas actually did was just drop hints that Blitz didn't notice. The hints weren't enough. He couldn't just arbitrarily drop those because he wouldn't really think of them. That tactic didn't work because he'd just sprinkle those breadcrumbs into conversation and Blitz wouldn't acknowledge them because it'd just be like, oh, that's just weird, whatever. But if he gradually became more accepting of Blitz and started to love him more, and he did try and do that by saying, yo, you can just come over, we can skip the arrangement, we could just talk, cuddle, there is still a better way to do it, making it a small transition period and refraining from any big changes. But then again, I can see Stolas' situation when he was like, it's now or never, it's the full moon, I need to tell him, I need to give him this crystal, this is how it has to be. I get that. He was under a lot of pressure from himself right then in that moment. So while I can sympathize with him, his arguments as to why that was okay to do, I do not agree with. And I have a lot of sympathy for Blitz as well because of how he is as a person and how blind he is to his own actions, such as right now.
What is it you want?
I want to feel like I'm earning my way to Earth, okay? So get your tight feathered ass out of that lawn chair and into the bedroom so I can fuck it.
Okay, so Stolas asks him what he wants. Blitz replies, but as you can see in that, the tone changes quite quickly. He begins by genuinely coming from the heart and saying that he wants to feel like he's earning it, but then immediately just flips, puts that mask back on, and goes back to the tactic of sexual arousal, the thing that he knows works, and has worked previously for a long time. He doesn't know another way to go at it, since he's so used to one-night stands and stuff, where the emotion is not needed or required, since it's something he's confident in because it's worked so many times, he knows that he can do it well. Yet Stolas is having none of it. He didn't even flinch for a second like he did in the past episode. He literally keeps that face on at all times. He's always against Blitz because he wants to be on his own. He's literally not got a desire for it right now.
Wow. Poetry. I'm sure such a statement would have had me swooning by now.
Now here's the thought that's just occurred in my brain at this moment. Stolas could be using this frown, this depressive state, as a mask in of itself to try and deter Blitz and get him away because he knows that it's bad for him. So if we're going off that mindset, right now they're just as bad as each other. And Stolas says, with sarcasm once again, basically what Blitz was thinking. Blitz was thinking, well, this always gets him, I'm just gonna keep doing that. And then Stolas is like, yeah, I know what you're thinking. This always does work. Why is it not working right now? He just states the obvious in such a great way. That's very well orchestrated and executed in this scene.
Yeah, sure. Okay, that was a shitty way for me to say it, but you usually like it when I talk all dirty and fucky and shit.
Literally what I just said. Stolas caught Blitz off guard because he literally just spoke his mind, and then Blitz is like, yeah, I agree, that is kind of what I was thinking. He's breaking, that mask is kind of slipping, and he has to keep putting it on to be assertive. Stolas is reading him right now. He's doing what he never really has, and he's actually reading and analyzing the emotions of Blitz. He must have done a lot of thinking in those 12 hours, as if he couldn't sleep after the situation. And he brings that up in the All To You song, where he says that he's been missing every sign and every glance and every turn, all those different things that Blitz has been doing that he never noticed or acknowledged. Now he is doing that, he is acknowledging those emotions and he's noticing them and he's calling Blitz out on them through a very subtle manner that still gets to him. He doesn't want to rile Blitz up, but he wants to let him know that he understands his emotions and he's not going to be fooled once again by him. Blitz's mask will no longer deceive Stolas. But then, weirdly enough, since Stolas is quite new to this type of behavior, he ends up riling him up anyway because he makes Blitz feel weak. So weak that the mask can't hide that. So he just has to outburst in rage. That is how it works, really. He tries to act confident to seem like he's on top, but when he gets really beat down, he just goes straight for the jugular and tries to break that ego of the other being.
Come on, we don't do words, we do sex.
As shocking as this might seem, Blitz,
Did you hear Brandon's execution there? He cracked in his voice, it switched a little bit. Not only is his metaphorical mask breaking, so are his words, his voice, and his cadence. They are also breaking, literally breaking, because he's breaking, cracking under the pressure. As the mask is cracking, so is the rest of him. Even down to his body language, the animators did that so well, he starts to kind of like curl up a little bit.
I don't think I'm in the mood to do sex with you. In fact, I don't think I'm even in the mood to do words with you.
So obviously that is kind of a Pensious reference right there. No, I'm not in the mood to do sex with you. Though obviously he does actually bring up quite an interesting point. He outright says to Blitz that he's not in the mood for anything right now. He just wants to be left alone with him and his thoughts and this book or whatever he's reading. It seems to be a romantic novel or maybe just a tutorial about how to love someone. How to have a healthy relationship. Hell style, I don't know. But he does make it very clear to Blitz and you can see the way that his face is moving right now, or it had moved. This is a still image. He's not really happy with that response at all. I mean, who would be if you've come all this way to go and see someone, maybe for the wrong intentions, but still, and they're just telling you, no, I'm not interested, I don't even want to talk to you, like, get out of my face. That is really hard to hear. So I do feel for Blitz in this moment, but the way that he's coming at him right afterwards, practically ready for a fight, because he opens it straight up with the wrong intention, not even saying sorry for what he himself has done. Stolas doesn't have to apologize. I've said this previously. You apologize to someone if you're in the wrong. It doesn't matter if they are also in the wrong. You don't go there expecting one from them also. You go there, say, I'm sorry, you don't need to apologize, you are in the wrong, you've done some wrong things, but I can't make you apologize, so I'm here to apologize to you. That's how it should be. And then, if Stolas apologized for himself afterwards, then you could kind of talk about being friends again or whatever. But still, he shouldn't have come here right afterwards anyway. You should have let it sit. Though obviously I do understand this is very unfamiliar to Blitz. This territory is quite uncharted, so I can't drop all the blame onto him, nor can I drop it all onto Stolas, as I've been saying this entire time. Both and neither, guys. Both and neither.
So how about you respect that?
Oh, come on, Stolas, you can't mean that.
Stolas then says you should respect that, which is true. It doesn't matter what he's done. He could be the worst man in the world. He could have murdered thousands of people. But if they're not causing any harm to people and they just want to be on their own, they have that right and you should respect that right. In Blitz and many others' eyes, Stolas is a horrible person. But if he just wants to be on his own and not hurt anyone, it's basically solitary confinement. You literally give that as a punishment to people who've done horrible things. If he wants to be in a solitary situation on his own, you should obviously respect that because he literally doesn't want to bother anyone. He wants to just be on his own with his own thoughts, which is completely valid. If he was gesturing Blitz to go away because he himself wanted to go and do something terrible, that's when the respect thing comes into question. But as of now, all we can see on the surface here is that he doesn't want Blitz around, he doesn't want anyone around, he just wants to be on his own. He's not out to harm other people, he's not telling Blitz to go away so he can go and harm someone else. He literally just wants to be on his own, and Blitz should respect that.
You always love seeing this.
Seeing you right now is hard.
So Blitz tries to use that humor again and obviously gets his mask back on. He's just doubting everything that Stolas says. He's like, you don't mean this, blah, blah, blah. He literally wants Stolas to forget everything and just focus on the one thing that Blitz wants him to focus on so then he can get his pleasure and his happiness and his safe space in a way, which is obviously the wrong thing to do because people have a right to think and all that stuff, but this is how Blitz is and he really needs to change. Like, this isn't even a small issue. This is something that really does need to be changed. People should be allowed to think for themselves. Blitz has no authority over what other people think and feel. He doesn't have that power, and no one should have that power to be able to manipulate that and change it to his own liking. And then Stolas gets a bit shouty, which you could say is him making the first move, initiating that aggressive behavior, coercing Blitz to allow his aggressive behavior to come out. But he really is being overwhelmed right now because Blitz is just giving him what he completely, like, the opposite of the spectrum of what he wants right now. Stolas is looking for peace, quiet, and calm, and Blitz is approaching him, requesting an act that requires a lot of energy, the complete opposite of the calmness that he's seeking for right now. It honestly isn't the most fair on Stolas right now, seeing that Blitz did open this. We can say that by this point, Blitz is more at fault since he started this, but in the overall situation, the relationship relationship as a whole. You know what? See previous.
I don't want to feel worse than I already do. It's bad enough. I got an invite to this anti-blitzo party, an honorary invite for being your freshest ex.
So Stolas says exactly what I was thinking. I didn't even watch this beforehand. He says that it's the complete opposite of what he's looking for right now. That is literally what I said. That's insane. Bear in mind, I did not watch this previously. I've literally just got to record it last week and I haven't looked at it since. These are complete fresh thoughts. How cool is that? But yeah, he mentions the Verosika party, blah, blah, blah. Not much to say there since it's obviously just a part of the plot that kind of makes it move on. So yeah, that's all I really have to say for this segment.
Anti-blitzo party? Who the fuck's behind this?
Oh, it's entirely immature. I'd never indulge this nonsense.
So Blitz is immediately on the aggressive since Stolas really gave him the leeway to do it because he began being aggressive previously. Blitz now thinks that it's just okay to shout. And Stolas is playing it off, just disregarding it as immature, which is what I have said previously about that party as a whole. So it is cool to see that Stolas is wise enough to understand that, but still, he may be wildly intelligent, but because of the limited interaction that he's had with other people or demons, you can't really say that he's very well educated on people as a whole.
Silly.
Real silly, real fucking classy.
Kind of them to invite me, though.
Stolas kind of adds that in there as a snide remark to Blitz, but really, you just kind of think, oh, that's a bit charming, isn't it?
It might be rude not to make an appearance.
Verosika! Of course, that fucking bitch.
I will say, it's rather concerning you have an entire party devoted to hating you, though, Blitz.
First thing, we can see how Blitz views his ex, Verosika. Obviously, we know that from episode 3 of season 1, but it's oddly cool to see it be brought up here immediately as he sees her name. He just views her as a bitch, despite the fact that she didn't really do anything outrageous to him in their relationship, so he has no reason to be genuinely mad, well, that mad at her. It is valid for him to be mad about the hate party, but just Verosika, I mean, she didn't do anything crazy to him, but obviously that is how Blitz is. He'll get angry at people who show too much emotion, because he thinks that they're trying to tease him all the time because he's not worth loving. That's so incredibly shown here, but then obviously Stolas, very intelligent.
Concerning you have an entire party devoted to hating you, though.
He notes that it's very interesting that he has a party revolved around him, very obviously insinuating that he knows that Blitz is kind of an asshole to other people, that he kind of sees through him now and thinks, well, there's loads of other people. He must just be like this with everyone, which makes him kind of a bit comforted by that. Stolas is a little bit, maybe.
Oh, please, everyone hates me for shitty reasons. In the end, everyone's just bitter they couldn't tie this ass down.
So that mask is on. He's trying to act confident in front of Stolas, because obviously it's quite a wide realm of insecurity for him, so he wants to play it off cool. That is kind of like what most people do. If they're insecure about something, they'll just play it off with a confident face on. Nothing out of the ordinary there. It's actually quite relatable. That's what's really good about Helluva Boss, is that it portrays people so well through these demon characters that you can see a bit of yourself in them if you do these type of things.
I'm too much imp to simp.
You really think that's the reason?
Yes, sir. They couldn't handle it. I moved on.
Oh.
Now, I have just put the air conditioning on, sorry if you can hear that, but Blitz is trying to play this off a little bit more, just saying that he's too much imp to simp, as if he's so desirable that Stolas would be lucky to be with him. And as some of you may know, a lot of people who are lonely, not all people, but many, will put on this confident facade and make them seem like they're great, because they want to hide away from that and make it seem as if they are perfect.
So you're used to being the one who crushes others' feelings, hmm?
If by crushes others' feelings you mean in shit before it gets serious, then bingo!
So Stolas does get a bit angry there and calls him out on his crap, and it's like, oh, so this is who you are then? And Blitz basically agrees with it, but twists it so much that Stolas doesn't want to ask any further questions. If he had just agreed with it, Stolas would have just been like, well, why would I want to hang out with you? Why would I want to be in a relationship with you if this is who you are? If you want to break people down and not have connections? If you don't care for others, why should I spend time with you? But he twists it and makes it seem like they're stupid and he's stupid. And if Stolas was to reply with that, he would just be stupid and have no brain because, you know, relationships, am I right?
I'm doing everyone a favor because relationships are boring.
Oh yes, very boring.
And we can see how Stolas reacts to that. He twitches very much so and twists himself. And with a very crooked smile just agrees with him. Yes, very boring, of course. Practically taking the piss out of him because Blitz is just talking out of his ass right now and someone has to tell him.
So what are you doing here then?
Waiting for you to realize how good an angry fuck would be right now.
And you can see there he responds with anger once again because he wants to hide that. This is a very interesting pattern with Blitz. When he gets so beat down, he just responds with anger. When he doesn't know what to say, he responds with anger, seen as if him doing that is emphasizing what he's saying, but really, he's just shouting and it's just unpleasant for everyone. In fact, him shouting just makes what he's saying less important, because he seems weaker and therefore people aren't going to listen to what he says or take it into consideration as much, because why, you know, he's shouting, why would you listen to that guy?
Get out. Right now.
What?
I'm tired of this.
Stolas puts his foot down and he has all the right to. It's his property and Blitz should get out of it. Despite what Stolas has done, all he wants right now is peace. And he deserves that. And he knows that he's done wrong, but he himself can't apologize for it either. So they're both in the same boat right now, but their execution and the way that they act upon it is completely different. And that's what's great about these two characters and why they flow so well in the show. Because the writers truly know how to make two characters that flow well with each other.
I'm uncomfortable with how you're speaking to me now.
Oh, come on, Stolas.
Stolas literally opens up. He's saying that he's tired of this. He doesn't want this. He's open. He's getting emotional in hope that that'll get to Blitz and just spark something in his brain that will kind of change him and make him listen and get out of here. But to see the lengths that Stolas is willing to go to get him out and have that peace and quiet, it's really sad and you can't help but feel for him. Despite what he's done, all he wants right now, like I've been saying this whole time, is just to be on his own.
You can't tell me this isn't a fantasy of yours. You want me to show your rich, princey ass what a real fucking is.
And here he is, Blitz is back again, completely disregarding what he's saying, moving on, brushing it off as if it's nothing and going back to what he wants. He's always trying to push what he wants onto others. In fact, if you think about it, he actually does this with Eminem. It's very obvious in the series that Blitz is quite interested and very envious of their relationship, Millie and Moxie. And he's always trying to push this idea of a threesome onto them, you know, this twisted fantasy of his that he's trying to push onto them and project onto them. And he disregards any arguments against it or other things they want to say and just moves on to that because that's what he's interested in. Blitz as we know him, the mask of Blitz, not the true Blitz under that mask, the mask that Blitz puts on, doesn't care about anyone else but himself. But deep down we know that he does care because we can tell when he's upset that he does. Otherwise he wouldn't get upset at all. There would be no need for a mask if this was Blitz. If this truly was Blitz, there'd be no need for that mask, but there is that mask, so therefore this is not him.
Stop it.
Ha! I'm right, aren't I? You get off to getting plowed by people you look down on.
Weirdly enough, Blitz is attempting to read Stolas right now. It's very weird. He's like trying to call him out like, yeah, I realize this. It's like those people who notice other people's actions and then like moan to you thinking that they know how they think when they obviously don't. That's why I never come into these videos acting like I know everything. Because I don't, and I'm always willing to learn and I'm open to criticism in the comments. That's why I always influence my audience to comment. Because I enjoy learning, and when I'm disagreed with, I enjoy seeing other sides and different views from other people. But Stolas is very much acting like this person that we all probably know, that person who's like, oh, Bob, he's probably having some bad time at home. He's probably in a broken home with a family who doesn't love him. All because he beat him at basketball, you know? There's always that guy who makes assumptions and always thinks that he's right, and Blitz is being that guy right now, which is another relatable thing that Helluva Boss brings to the table that's quite subliminal that I've only noticed just now as of speaking on this. But there are different parts of Blitz that represent genuine, real people that you can actually think of in your head. It's like Blitz is acting very much like, right now, or that thing that Blitz just did, it's very akin to what this guy does that I know. It's very interesting, really.
I don't look down on you. How many times do I... When have I ever...
Now, this moment, this phrase has been memed to absolute death. It is in shambles right now. There is no way to even speak on this. Obviously, Stolas has done that. You know, all those times, just search this up. Search up when have I ever Stolas, and it will just come up with 10,000 memes, compilations of clips when he has done this. We all know you're lying right now. He's acting out of anger and he's saying things that he doesn't truly mean because he knows that he's secretly wrong. How interesting is that? That's so incredibly well written. The hypocrisy in what he says is quite potent right now. It's very interesting and honestly quite annoying, but the way that the writers are able to just completely flip it from you hating Blitz but then now hating Stolas and thinking, well, they're both in the wrong right now, or they're also not, blah blah blah, you know, whatever. But the way that it flips so seamlessly there and you notice that and you understand that, that's very interesting. It's very well written.
You speak just like that vile striker friend of yours, the one who tried to kill me and you couldn't be bothered to come help me.
And now he's relating Blitz to his arch nemesis, really, isn't he? Who does he hate more in the world than Striker right now? He's had so many run-ins with him. We've had more run-ins with him than anyone else. And the fact that it's so close to home as well, because Stolas has been in his hands and he's been tortured by him. This is oddly a good point, and why the writing is so well done here, because you just hated Blitz, then you hate Stolas, and now you're back to hating Blitz again. It's like, wow, that's so incredible how quick you can switch and how they can make you switch and make everyone switch as well. Most reactions to this video have the reactor switch just as quickly. It seems like this show has a way of just drawing the same emotions from every single person who watches it. It's also a great jab at Blitz because he's so close to this Striker guy, obviously for the wrong reasons, and to say that he is acting similar to someone who he views as pathetic and so low down in comparison to him, that'll really hurt him. That'll hit him in that core there because it's so close to him and something that he genuinely thinks about about a lot.
Remember him?
Hey, look, I do not sound like... And I didn't know he was capable.
See how he's breaking there? He's doing it again. Brandon is so good at doing that in his acting. The way that he's trailing off and thinking of it is like, completely all over the place, because we know there, we can see it within him. He doesn't show it. He doesn't break down into tears. He uses that other emotion, anger. He uses that instead of sadness or guilt. He uses anger to fight back, a fiery way of lashing out at someone and changing the subject in a way to get it away from there. But now he's just saying, oh no, I'm better than him. He wants to prove it's like, I'm not like Stryker. I'm not like that guy. He's hurt you so badly. I would never hurt you that badly. But really, in an emotional sense, he might have hurt him just as much as Stryker did in the physical sense. At least in Stolas' head, they will be held with the same weight and importance, because obviously his physical health was hurt by Stryker, but his mental health was damaged just as much in a similar amount by Blitz. So that's a really great point.
Stopped him the first time, didn't I?
The first time?
Oh, he said it. Now that's, that's something, isn't it? That's pretty interesting to say the least.
Yeah, Oh. Oops. No, who said that?
You knew.
Again, you see his body language. He's scratching his head to try and change the subject, just try and make things a bit more comfortable for him, draw attention away from the situation, and obviously the stuttering, greatly done by Brandon once again. And then Stolas.
Who someone was trying to assassinate me?
Look at Blitz's face. He's so shocked right now because he's realized that he screwed up so badly. The trust that Stolas has in Blitz right now was already low. Now it's gone. It's minus. It's in the negative numbers right now. And honestly, that's probably my favorite part of the argument. He's so quickly there trying to scramble to make things better and change things and make him be viewed in a different sense, but then Stolas is just calling him out exactly, says exactly what we're thinking, because it's so relatable to me as the viewer. That's why it's my favorite part, because it's something that I was literally thinking as he was saying that, and then it literally, Stolas says it. That's so incredibly well done.
I stopped him, and I really didn't think you could actually get hurt. You're immortal and shit. You're a fucking prince.
See how he's like scrambling there, and then he just goes, you're in prince. Like, he very much lashes there to make that point known and conjure up some more confidence. Blitz is very torn here between trying to validate his own faults and attempting to seem confident. He's so torn between the two, he keeps switching over and over again. It just amounts to nothing, doesn't it? It doesn't really mean much anymore.
If me and my team could kick that guy's ass that easily, then I'm sure you'd have no problem.
I suppose you are right. Silly me. It's not an imp's place to protect a Goetia.
Look at Blitz's subtle smile there in the animation. Blitz is trying to make Stolas seem like, oh, you can do this and that, you don't need me, but then you also do for this. He's trying to like make it seem more, he's trying to flip it, isn't he, really? He's trying to make it seem like he's great and then be like, but you also need this, you're not that because you don't have this, you don't have me. You need to keep chasing after me. You can defend yourself, just forget about that. Do this, it doesn't matter. I thought you could do this, it's fine. But there's also this part, the one thing that I know that I'm good at, that I'm attempting to place upon you now and ignite that flame once again. So that's where the tear comes back. Blitz is saying that Stolas doesn't need him to protect him. He's trying to get what he wants, but also clear the allegations put on his head. But it's not really working, is it? And then Stolas summarizes what Blitz is trying to say, what he's attempting to get across, and then just says it sarcastically back to him. But then Blitz is just like,
and there it is.
Oh, I just cut it then. But anyway, he takes that sarcasm, just agrees with it. He's like, yeah, you're trying to be sarcastic and get to me. You're trying to affect me, but no, I'm just going to agree with it because I'm so confident in myself. Really trying to push that. Is it working? I mean, arguably not.
Took you long enough.
That's all you were waiting for, wasn't it? For me to play into this idea you have of me, that I'm this prince who thinks he's so much better than you.
Stolas then breaks down again and just says, this is what you want. I've given you what you want now. That is what you wanted from me. You want me to agree and say this stuff about you, but I don't think that. Stolas is really trying to make his emotions heard. Yet for some odd reason, aka Blitz, it's not working. Because Blitz isn't willing to hear anyone else's opinion. He just wants everyone to agree with his and move on with their day.
Well, I don't. Why would I allow everyone to see how much I like you? How I've tried so fucking hard to spend time with you, to support you. You don't owe me those things, but you can't just ignore all that.
Now that arguably is a really good point from Stolas. He really wants to try and he's showing that affection. He tries to hold hands with him in Aussies. He messages him saying, let's just skip the arrangement and you can come round and we can chat. But really, that's not what Blitz wants or knows that he wants. He's always straying away from that because he thinks that it'll make him look weak. So no, he's never really experienced being loved and loving back because he runs away from it every time to not seem like he's weak. So yes, Stolas, you have tried to help Blitz, but it's not what he wants right now, or he knows that he wants. He's not aware of it, therefore why would he try it? Stolas should know by now that Blitz isn't willing to try new things. Even old things such as being on a stage in front of a crowd of people. As we see in season 2 episode 2, he's really scared and he has a lot of anxiety. He just sits there when he's on the stage. The fact that he's afraid to do things that he has previously done, he's definitely not willing to do things that are new to him, especially with the stigma that he has around love. It's not the right way to go about it.
You know, Stolas, I spent the entirety of this morning listening to love ballads, and that was still the gayest thing I've heard all day!
Now that is a great joke, don't get me wrong, but the amount of deflecting that Blitz is doing, just trying to get that all away from him, I don't want to do this, I want to hear this, everything about love is a joke. He's trying to play this off as if he's never felt lonely. It's like, I'm not lonely, I'm fine with what I'm doing now, sex is all I need, I don't need any of the other stuff that comes with it, none of the commitments, it's just a waste of time, it's stupid. But that's when he shouts, and you see, like I've been saying this whole time, he shouts, and as soon as you notice that the first time, you notice it every other time, you're like, oh, he's shouting now, he's obviously insecure about something. He's trying to play it off confident and like it's a joke. It's like, yeah, this is the gayest thing, and it may be even very shouty, but he's also trying to play it off as if it's nothing.
Do you feel any kind of remorse for what you do? Have you ever even apologized once in your life?
Stolas does make a really good point. He really wants to know this about Blitz. He's like, do you feel any remorse? Because he's genuinely upset, and Stolas is tired of trying. Yes, it can be argued he's not tried hard enough, and he has done bad things that have put Blitz in this mindset, but he still has tried in his own way, and though his own way didn't work, and it's not up to the standard that it should have been, he still tried hard doing that thing that wasn't worth it, no, but still he tried hard to attempt to make it work because he thought that it would work.
Think I can't apologize? For what? You want me to be like, oh, sorry, this entire time I assumed the worst because I was convinced a prince could never love someone like me, and I let my self-hatred stop me from apologizing to anyone I could never care about.
Now that's a lot to digest there, isn't it? So many things that I've genuinely forgot half of what he's just said, and I watched it with full attention. First of all, he says, you think I can't apologize? That's him taking it as a challenge, and that's the whole point of the episode. It's just to get back at him. He's doing it because he's petty. He's trying to get back at Stolas for something that he didn't even do. And it's so sad to see that's the way that Blitz has been taught to deal with things, is to get back at them and show them that you're better and you can do this your own way and you don't need them. Because that's what his dad did. He was like, oh, just get out of here. We don't need you. We'll do it without you. Fizzerol is better than you. He always will be. And he has that card that he gives to Fizz, wish you were my son. Throughout his whole life, Blitz has always been seen as disposable. So he's just adopted that and he's embraced it, which seems like a good thing on the outside, but he hasn't embraced it with the right intention. He's not embraced it as this is a part of me and now I can change, you know, I am this, I think that I'm disposable, here's how I can make that different, what can I do to make that better? Instead, he's like, I'm disposable, I'm gonna go tell everyone that I am disposable, I'm just gonna do everything that can make me hurt, everything that can make me feel pain, all those self-destructive habits, well, I'm worth nothing, I'm disposable, I'm gonna die, it doesn't matter. It's a very nihilistic view on it that isn't working in his favor right now.
Well, yes.
That's all Stolas wanted, was for him to just open up and admit that he can't feel love for people. He feels disgusted and upset at the idea of loving someone because he thinks that he is unlovable by someone so highly in status as Stolas. He practically said it, he's nothing and he thinks he's nothing and he doesn't love himself and he can't do this because he thinks that he's disposable, for he has no traits that give him meaning and worth, make him undisposable. How sad is that to hear, let alone understand? It's one thing to hear it, but to analyze it and understand the nitty-gritty of it and realize that fully in full force with your full clarity of your mind, that is really upsetting.
Well, fuck you! I can sorry the fuck out of people, just you watch! I sorried Fizz so hard he cried!
And there he is, he's taking it as a challenge, proving to Stolas that, hey, I can't apologize to you because you're unforgivable. Not me, I'm not the one, you are. But really, it's less of that, it's not you're unforgivable, it's that I'm more forgivable than you, therefore you're unforgivable. Which is a way more impactful way to view it, and a sad way at that.
And I can sorry more people, everyone but you, because I don't owe you dick! Everyone but you.
Well, that's that. It concludes. He repeats to himself, everyone but you. Really trying to put Stolas down, even to himself when Stolas isn't listening. He's like, yeah, I agree with myself right now. When he truly doesn't, does it? Deep down, he knows that's not true. And that's why he has to give that affirmation to make his brain think that so it doesn't question otherwise. Here we are. Hello, Stolas. And without further ado, let's just begin. First thing, 2 seconds in, we obviously know that Stolas doesn't want to do this, right? It's quite obvious since he was just thrown on stage a few seconds before, but it also ties into the fact that it literally just happened, possibly even yesterday, after the events of Full Moon. Therefore, to see that the animators and writers decided to include this addition, it truly shows how well versed they are in the story itself. I mean, they should be, they write and animate, but the fact that there's so much dedication gone into this, that they've added those little details, the minute ones that not the majority of people will notice, it's really intriguing to me personally. It's great to see when the team actually enjoys the work that they're putting in, because they add all these little things in to emphasize and show their love for this project they're working on. We can also see that Stolas is still broken from yesterday and this morning. He's not drunk here yet, therefore he's completely aware of his surroundings and the fact that he's sober. That's why when he gets out of this situation, he immediately turns to drink, like many people do, a very accurate and relatable thing for people who've gone through breakups, actually humanizes his character in a weird way. That's why so many people relate to Stolas in this situation, when they know that they've done wrong in a relationship, but so has the other person, and they can't deal with it all at once, especially so soon, so they indulge in things that escape them from that reality, and allow them to let loose, and think about it another time. But the thing is, the next time you think about it, it's gonna hit a lot harder, because when you've been using an escape for so long, the anxiety's just been building and building behind the scenes, so when it fully hits when you're sober, or when you're off all that stuff, it hits a lot harder. Not only with the build-up, but in many cases, people have become dependent on those drugs, on that escape, whatever it may be. That also amplifies the effect afterwards. Honestly, great display. 2 seconds in.
I let you get too close. I let it go too far.
Now, Stolas is actually noticing his wrongdoings. Well, at this point, he views it as more of a him issue, but throughout this song, he starts to realize that it's not entirely his fault that he let Blitz get too close, because he wanted Blitz, and Blitz wanted him. Though Blitz in particular, the one who shouted and did all the rage stuff, and jumps to that immediately, especially seeing it at this particular party where, obviously, Blitz is going to be in the bad perspective, he's going to be the villain. He begins to realize that it's a shared fault in the situation. Both of them have their own problems, and they're both at fault, while also not being at fault, because you can't paint them both with one brush, but then again, it would be flawed to not paint them with anything in the first place. Therefore, you can't say they're not to blame, or they're both to blame. You definitely can't say that one or the other's to blame, in my opinion. So this is the beginning of Stolas' realization, with him accepting that he did some stuff wrong and thinking at this point in time that it's all him, but then he slowly realizes throughout the song that it's both of them. This sets it off. That's the kicker. You can see how he begins, at this point in time, hating himself for it, whereas at the end, he seems to say, mother effer to Blitz, because the crowd itself is hyping him up for hating Blitz. Though at a midpoint in the song, he knew it was both of them, so it went from just him to both to just Blitz. But then in retrospect, he will realize it's a both kind of deal. He was right when he thought of both.
Now I know, now I know, now I know exactly what you are.
And there it is, Stolas is realizing, through what he's just said, when he thinks, I let you get too close, it's my fault, because I let you get too close. But then he thinks, wait a minute, that split-second decision to change it up, and say, hey, this entire party is about hating Blitz. Now I know what you are. You're the monster. Kind of deflecting that a little bit. Also, this is kind of a weird frame to pause it on, because the hand is just there, floating, and then, what, it's over here? Okay. Alright, that's how animation works, guys. So yeah, he's understanding a little bit that Blitz is at fault in some areas. Now this is the line, as opposed to the last one which kicked off seeing himself as at fault. This particular line kicks off the, oh, it's Blitz's fault. And then those two thoughts merge together at some point. Now, to me, this is not Vortex and Verosika's first rodeo. This is kind of a rehearsed song to get whoever's grieving out of that grief state and into this happy, in quotes, hating Blitz state, because it's all his fault, blah, blah, blah. And it does seem that with Verosika's story in particular, that's what's broken her so badly. It was Blitz's fault. That's the sad thing, but what's even sadder is that it wasn't his own doing that caused him to be like this. It's only through Verosika's speech later, which I'll get to in another video, that led to his realization that he's a shitty person and he's got to fix it. But that doesn't mean that all the spotlight falls on him. It's just me showing light to the fact that, yeah, Blitz is going to change. He's going to try his best to change. And though it will be really hard, he's going to come out triumphant, isn't he? That's how the show's going to work. It's going to run and run until Blitz is happy and fulfilled. And then that'll be when, you know, it eventually ends, probably. We need more conflict. It won't get fixed this quickly. But just know that the fate of the two characters, Brandon Rogers said this on a podcast, the fate of the two characters are sealed, and it's a good fate. Not just Stolitz. Every single character has its fate sealed, it seems. And most most of it, seeing off what Brandon said, will have a positive reception. So there's some reassurance for you. But as of now, I can just comment on what's going on. And that is that Verosika, I know we're not talking about her right now, but I will. What happened to her was purely Blitz's fault. It seems, as of now, on surface level from what we know, because Blitz didn't mention anything in that argument. He just accepted that he's a bad person. He never said, oh, but you did this, you did that. He just accepted it and realized it was him. So maybe that was the one-off. But obviously, the blame doesn't go entirely on him. He's been completely blissfully unaware that this has been a problem. He's just seen it as who he is. Doesn't want to get too close to people because he's scared. And he does want to change. So no, ignoring what I just said, he did know that it was a negative thing because it was negatively affecting him, because he would have realized I wanted to get closer to someone, but I just can't. My body won't let me. My brain won't let me. My mind is just racing with thoughts. But then to go to this party and see how people are coping with it and how individuals there are helping others get through the grief that he caused, it proves not only that they can get out of their saddened state, but also to Blitz, when he sees that, he thinks they're changing because of my actions. There is support out there that can help me. Why don't I try and change? That means there is a possibility that I can change, and there'll be people out there who will support me in that. And that's what leads to his realization later on, but obviously another video.
I don't think you meant to hurt me, 'cause I don't think it meant a thing at all.
And there it is, Stolas is thinking, he comes to this realization that may or may not be right, which we know is kind of wrong, that Blitz, quote-unquote, never cared, therefore it doesn't mean anything at all. So to him now, he's kind of got a bit of closure, being like, well, it didn't matter anyway, because he didn't want to get close in the first place. What's the point in crying about it? That's what Verosika and everyone here wants him to think, but then he second-guesses himself, because obviously you can't just be fully sure off of that. Realizations, you have to understand them a little bit. When they happen, you can't just change straight away. If you realize something, it'll take you a bit for you to process those emotions. But Stolas doesn't have that time right now, so he just has to recede back. He has that realization moment, but then has to recede back into his comfort zone, where he still thinks it's all about him and all the faults that he's done. And the positivity is all on Blitz, but obviously, throughout the song, he learns and develops and realizes that it's not all him. Though, let's be honest here, it is a lot of him, as I explained in my full moon analysis, just so you know that I'm not picking any sides in this situation, if that makes sense. This here reinforces it into his mind, yet he still chooses not to believe it until near the end. But if you look to the left and the right, Verosika and Vortex are smiling. It definitely doesn't help that they're an influence on Stolas right now. He feels the need to conform to the crowd, to the two people next to him who are very important. One being a famous pop star, one being a famous pop star, the other being a famous pop star's bodyguard. They're bound to have influence, and the influence on the crowd as well, which then leads to more conformity. So these thoughts now, that aren't entirely true, because they're just seeing Blitz in the negative light, and Stolas is seeing him in the positive, we need to have a mix, because it is a mix. It's a mix of both. So to see how Stolas' perception warps and changes throughout the song is insanely good. Jeez. These guys are just, they are good, aren't they? They're really amazing. Everyone on the team, dude, I cannot applaud you enough. Still smiling. They're a huge influence on him because he was nervous coming up, therefore he's going to say what the crowd wants to hear. But through that, it actually changes his mind. It wires it a little bit differently. So he mentally comes out a little bit different as to when he went in with it. Though Verosika has had a bad experience, she's still assuming that Blitz can't change, that he's horrible to everyone, when it could be just as possible that Blitz uses that specific language and tone towards her, seeing as she's a part of his past that he wants to forget. That's equally as possible as him being shitty to everyone. So Verosika obviously is at a bit of fault, since have you ever watched a Darman? Don't be so quick to assume. He just as well could have changed and it broke Stolas' heart because they broke up, not for any other reason. So to see her assuming that immediately off the bat, on the other hand, shows how much Blitz actually pained her. Scarred her so much that she's hellbent of warping everyone she comes across his perception of Blitz. That's how much she was affected by him. But obviously, won't speak many words as for now. Stay tuned. See how Blitz is mesmerized about the fact that someone's up on stage singing about him? He feels like he needs to listen. This is so out of the ordinary. He never hears Stolas sing. I don't think even once he's heard him sing. Therefore, he notices, because Blitz is smart, that something's not right, and that leads to him knowing that there's some serious emotional stuff that's going to appear in this musical number. Also, hold the phone. Why do those two kind of remind me of Harl Ivy? Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy? Kind of look similar. I mean, they could be. Could be a reference. Anyway. Now Stolas has said it, and that's kind of the big thing. You won't think so, but now it's as if he's agreeing with it. And the fact that Blitz has just got up to the stage and that's the first thing that he hears is a mother effer, that shows that the direction of this scene ties into the emotion as well. It's so well orchestrated that he appears through that scene, Blitz shows up, and then the immediate line that is said when he comes to the front is that. It hits him a lot harder because that's all he hears. Because that's all he's ever heard in this life his entire time.
Na, 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 na. The motherfucker. I let it go too long.
Now this is the bit where Stolas begins to develop a little bit more. This setup is very Stolas themed, as it should be. The astrology, the theatrical stage, and the waving curtains. Though this song in particularly is a departure from what he usually sings in the show, which is very theatrical, musical-esque, quite dramatic, this visual setting is a callback to that. It's him singing in that same environment, that cozy, comforting, royal environment, but in a very different, and what would be viewed as obscene by the regular Goetia. It's a really interesting detail, and also the actual setting of your typical college party you'd see in media. This scene completely contrasts that. It's the opposite of the actual venue where this is taking place.
I let you go too deep. Now I know, now I know, now I know there's one thing I can't keep.
Stolas is saying that he let Blitz go too deep, that he toyed around with Blitz's emotions so much and twisted him that it forced him to dig himself into a hole, and the hole is so deep now that he can't just get out that easily with a simple confession like in Full Moon. That's like if someone dug an actual hole, and then to get him out you provided them with ladders. They still need to set the ladders up themselves. You can't do it from all the way up there, can you? You can just chuck them down. Blitz needs time to set up those ladders, process his emotions, ensure that they're stable, that being Blitz's view, drive, and determination, and security in the fact that if he climbs up these ladders to get out of the hole, out of the rut, that he will be okay by the time he's out of it. So once they're set up and secure, it takes time to climb up those ladders, which in the sense of the show is the process of him slowly improving himself, starting with this episode when he talks to Verosika. That realization moment is just the beginning. Like I said, he needs time. Just like Stolas, he needs time to process those emotions. And luckily, he walked out and he went home. Therefore, he has that time. Stolas didn't. He was just rushed into it, being expected to accept it and just conform. But Blitz has had that realization and can go and sleep on it and think about it more without any conformity or immediate push to be perfect straight away. He has time, plenty of time. Before I notice the symbolism of this, I also want to say that he does have time, literally, but when he sees Stolas enjoying his time with that demon later on, it instills a sense of urgency within him. Therefore, there is a chance that he might rush to become better, and therefore he won't give himself the time and won't grow in the way that he needs to. It'll just be temporary, and temporary growth is never good. You'd rather it be gradual and long-term than just a spike and then a spike straight back down. Things take time, but this sense of urgency that he gets later on is going to lead to some terrible stuff, isn't it, really? But then we have the symbolism here. I will scroll back a little bit and let it play one final time. He says that he keeps on waiting, which is true. Every single full moon, that's what that is. It's the days and the nights. It's the days going by that he keeps on waiting for Blitz to get close to him, for him to want him fully. Stolas thinks that Blitz doesn't want him, but really, they both want the same thing in different ways. Blitz wants to feel wanted by being chased for, which he does get given to by Stolas, who chases him and constantly comes back all the time. Stolas wants to feel wanted in a love sense, and he kind of is, but he's not aware of it, and neither is the person who is. Therefore, there's no knowledge of that, and things can't grow because no one's realized yet. Can I also say that the scene itself is just amazing? The shots in this show are, jeez, they are good. Trust me, they are good. What can I say? I'm a sucker for helluva boss. What can I say?
Waiting to want you less than I do. And I do, oh I do, yes I still do want you.
So after what I just said, which were my thoughts and my opinions, he gives a completely different reason for waiting. He's waiting, as the days go by, for the time where he doesn't want him anymore. He doesn't want Blitz. That day will never come because he'll constantly want him, no matter how much. We know how the show's gonna work. He's definitely never gonna stop wanting him. Hell, there's even a possibility that he gets in a relationship, but the show's gonna write it so that eventually it'll come out fine. But we're just gonna ignore the writing stuff for now, and ignore the fact we know the fates and all that, and just focus on the now, the here, the now, the most important part, what's going on at this moment, and I've just explained it. Stolas is waiting and waiting until he doesn't want Blitz anymore. But really, what I think, in my opinion, is actually happening is he's waiting for Blitz to want him. Because if you think about it, he's thinking, I don't want Blitz anymore. Why can I just not want him? I'm waiting to not want Blitz. But he still does. But if Blitz came and wanted him, he would realize then that he never wanted to not want Blitz. He just wanted Blitz to want him this whole time. He was so mistaken, thoroughly mistaken, and he still is in this part of the song because he's not had that realization. A lot of this stems from not having that moment moment of knowing. That moment where someone shakes you up and tells you and says, listen, you like him. Stop running away from it. Everyone just insinuates to it and Blitz just shrugs it off. No one fully tells him. Or Stolas. No one's there for him. If you think about it, Stolas has less than Blitz. He has no friends. His family hates him. His daughter is, complicated. Stolas literally has no one. But we don't get to see that side of him. He does say that he's alone and cry about it, which is fine because the little that we do see of it is completely valid. If you feel a certain way, you're free to feel that way. As long as it doesn't harm anyone else. If you're sad, you can be sad and you can cry. Whatever you think will make it better for you. If you know what's best for you, do it. If you don't, do whatever you think's best, even if it's not, because it's way better than doing nothing. Obviously, I wouldn't advocate for alcohol, but in some situations, it's viewed as needed by other people. So at that point in time, if I'm not there to tell them that alcohol's bad for them, would I rather them sit with that negativity? It's a mixed bag. Though it could help them process, at that point in time, one thing I'd recommend is just sleep on it. And then when you're in a better headspace, think about it. But then drinking and indulging is a way to get yourself in a completely opposite mindset where you're so dependent on this escape that you don't think about the thoughts. Best thing to do is know the thoughts are there, notice them, sleep on it, and when you're in a better headspace without anything interfering with it, instead of the natural ability to sleep, then you can think about it. Something that's natural, those are the kind of things, the natural things that are built into the nature of a being. They're the things. Don't do too much of it though. Don't sleep too much, don't eat too much, and know what's good for you. But obviously, when you're not thinking rationally, you'll do anything. So as long as you do the best thing that you can do, even if it does harm you in a way, as long as you know that that's the best option at this point. If you think, right, I just don't drink. I know it's bad, just don't drink, just go to sleep. It doesn't matter if you lie in, because the other option would have given you greater consequences. So whatever's best for you in that situation, try to think with all your might for the best that you can think of. That's all you can do is your best. So if your best is a bad decision, then so be it. It could have been worse. We can still heal. One thing your best isn't and never will be is, sorry, trigger for this. What your best will never be in any situation, your best decision, if you think about it really long and hard, it will never be to end it. Never, ever, and I can't emphasize that to you enough. Please don't. Like I said, just do whatever you think's best in that situation. Try and deal with it however you can.
But maybe it's all on me for missing every sign and every glance and every turn.
Can I just say, before we get into this, oh my goodness, not only the visuals are phenomenal, they always are on this show, but what did actually blow me away, because it was brand new before, obviously we've seen the visuals warp and move and have all these cool tricks previously, but we've never seen this side of Bryce's voice. It slaps. It's absolutely phenomenal, and I can't tell you, this is so good. How many times I listened to this song before I started recording? I had it on loop. I wanted to get every single bit out of it that I could while I was privately analyzing the lyrics, getting ready for this video. I just couldn't stop listening to it. I'd zone out and I'd stop analyzing the lyrics because I was listening to the song itself. I was just so engaged by it. Wow, Bryce, you are a phenomenal actor, and from what I've seen, a phenomenal person and quite funny. So sorry, the Bryce Pinkham Simps here. Okay, yeah, thanks for that. Anyway, now Stolas is saying to himself that it's his fault again because he never noticed those little signs. And what did I say? What did I say last time? I said that Stolas never gave enough signs personally himself, and he never noticed with his observant mind the signs that Blitz gave. And here, in these exact scenes, we can see over and over the exact ways that it played out in Stolas' head from his vision, things that genuinely happened, not made up, because these instances happened in real time in the show at some point, so we know that it's canon, and these are things that he's actually seen. We can see that Stolas saw that and witnessed Blitz's behavior, but chose to ignore it and just shrug it off. But if he sat down and really thought about it, he'd think, Blitz isn't comfortable. But then that would also lead to another complex where you would think that it's him all the time, when it clearly isn't. Yes, Stolas, you did ignore those signs, but listen, buddy, don't sweat it so much. You made a mistake and you've owned up to it. There's nothing you could have done to change the past, so just try and help now in the future. And have your own say. When you're sober, go to Blitz and apologize to him. Because even though Blitz can be a terrible person, at the end of the day, you know that you made a mistake as well. And you never apologized in Full Moon. You just said and explained your own feelings and walked off. You never said sorry. Now there it is, Stolas defenders. I'm saying that it's neither and both. Just like I've said this entire time, Stolas needs to apologize to Blitz. He needs to apologize, saying, I never noticed the signs, I'm so sorry, I should have noticed them, I should have been more observant, but now I can move on because I've had my closure with my deals. It doesn't matter whether Blitz responds or not. Blitz could just shout at him or whatever, but as long as Stolas got that off his chest, that's the most important thing to him and for him at this moment in time. It's for him to own up, even though it wasn't entirely his fault. Just own up and accept your own failures. Don't have that mindset where it's, I'm not going to say anything if you don't. I'm not going to apologize to you if you don't say anything to me. It's completely and utterly flawed. It doesn't matter who or who isn't in the wrong. If you've done something something wrong, own up to it and apologize. Even if that person's done so much more, you've still got to own up to yourself first before you can say anything about the other person. But then that leads me to Blitz, which I will elaborate on in great detail in the Verosika video when they had their speech, and in that scene where Stolitz had that little scene together, Drunken. But Blitz also needs to apologize. Of course he does. That's just a given at this point. Blitz has done terrible things, and even this, what Stolas is talking about, the signs that he never noticed. Blitz has given him signs, but never fully showed it and said anything. So there's a Blitz fault there. If Blitz felt comfortable with Stolas, which we know he wasn't really, until Full Moon, where he was actually excited to see him because it was a thrill away from all the negativity, away from the hate, a way to lose himself in it. A way to lose himself in it, as he says in When I See Him. He began to look forward to their arrangements, seeing it as a kind of comfort zone because it gets away from all the negativity. But previously, before that, he wasn't actually comfortable, and even by then, he wasn't comfortable with Stolas. He was comfortable with the situation. So whenever Stolas showed up outside of that, or even in the same room after his mind had cleared and he was back to reality again, he wouldn't be comfortable around Stolas. It's specifically the situation that made him comfortable. It's a temporary comfort zone. It's not one that's always around him at all times, where he can just recede back into it. It's one that's very temporary, and even not moving in that comfort zone for a while would just make it dissipate. Therefore, seeing how Stolas is comfortable with Blitz, and seeing how Blitz doesn't respond to that, and responds with signs, it shows that he's not yet comfortable enough, and probably never would be because he doesn't want to get emotional, to open up to Stolas and explain how he truly feels about it. It's a real mixed bag, and Blitz is, honestly, in my opinion, because he's the main character, way more complex than Stolas is. Simply for that reason, though. There's still a lot to say about Stolas, because I'm yapping about him for however long now. And see there how Vortex and Verosika are attempting to influence Stolas, and they actually do. It's that voice constantly in his head at all times. It's their two voices from both sides, in the back of his head, the front, the side, everywhere. From every angle, he's getting these voices. Even through the visuals, what he sees the audience cheering him on for hating on Blitz and all the horrible stuff that he's done. And that's more conformity, because he feels pressured, seeing as he doesn't have many friends to begin with, to appeal to everyone that wants to hear what he has to say. But after that, no one's interested. We see when he walks in, no one's interested. Why would they bother to go talk to him afterwards? They've had that thrill moment of hearing all the bad stuff that he's done, like, oh, Blitz is still that guy, always doing stuff. Literally yesterday, he's still done this, and his ex is talking about it. That's crazy. Let's hate on Blitz some more. But after that, Stolas has to go find his own friends, and he's not very good with that. He never had friends when he was younger. He was forced into a friendship by his father, which he wanted, and he enjoyed, but he was still forced into it because he couldn't do it himself. Though he did seem very interesting, just not very appealing to the average Joe.
Maybe there's something here for us to glean, for you to teach and me to try to learn.
Now, obviously, they're influencing him again in the background, but Stolas is attempting to learn more about Blitz. He's saying that he wants to learn. He wants to dig deep into what Blitz's problems are. He wants to be there as a shoulder to cry on. Because if someone's there, crying on your shoulder, willing to open up to you, it shows that they want you and they're comfortable with you. And that's what Stolas wants. He wants to feel wanted. And being that shoulder to cry on is a form of want, because that person wants you and trusts you to handle these emotions and take them like a champ. So Stolas is saying that he really wants to know Blitz. He wants to know all the bad stuff. He wants to listen and he wants to help. As long as Blitz wants him, it doesn't concern him what it is, as long as it's genuine. As long as it's genuine want, no matter the topic, whether it's the most minimal thing or the largest, most emotional, most soul-crushing, as long as he can be there to support and listen, that's all he wants. See how when Stolas touches that picture, that frame, it begins to crack and shatter. That's very symbolic of the fact that when he got so close to Blitz and touched him, which is obviously not literally, but touched him as in touched his heart, figuratively, it shattered him. It shattered his soul because he's never experienced that before. True love. Obviously, he had with Verosika. Obviously, there was that from Verosika and possibly other people, but as soon as they got too close and Blitz started to find feelings, he just left it and just ran off. He shattered, the mask slipped. He had to run. There was, in his perception, no other option. It should just shatter, run away, get out of that person's life because he thinks that he doesn't deserve anyone to love and to care about. Which do I have to say at this point? That ain't true. And it never will be for him. Though the thought is still there that he's too complex and horrible to love and change. He's too far gone to be changed in any way. It's sad to see how Blitz thinks and also how Stolas thinks, because he thinks it's all his fault. And though it's okay to be open to learning and all that, viewing himself as the problem constantly is just a recipe for disaster. Stolas is constantly questioning over and over. He's getting so unbelievably overwhelmed that it's crushing him inside and it's breaking it all, shattering his soul. Not just Blitz, how his mask and his entire personality shatters when people get too close. This now, thinking about that moment, thinking about all these other different moments and all the ways that he shatters, it in the process shatters Stolas. So the chain reaction and the effects from this and the magnitude of all these moments in retrospect come to him, and he realizes, he's like, oh, okay, this was this bad, I missed this out, and now he thinks that there's nothing left, there's no hope. He's questioning himself as if it's his fault, and though it is partly his fault, he's got to accept the fact that it's not all him. All the weight can't be put on him, but everyone does that. Even Blitz is doing that. Blitz thinks it's all his fault. Like I said, he doesn't feel deserving of anyone else's love. It's really upsetting. See how he erupts into flames. It's getting too much for him. He'll literally explode if things go on any longer, and he keeps questioning. Stolas is obviously an overthinker. So is Blitz. They're both overthinkers. They have so much in common, yet they're so far apart, but so physically together. Isn't that weird? They themselves have so much in common. All the problems that they have are pretty common. Even down to the childhood trauma is pretty similar with neglect. To see that for all this time they were so close to each other physically, but so far away mentally, that now the physical's gone, it's disappeared to the place where the mental is. All these things that they have in common, all the problems, and all the similarities they have literally as well. There's definitely some things that they have in common with each other outside of that. But now all the physical and the mental stuff, the stuff that you can actually see and perceive as a direct way to contact and connect with someone on a mental level or a physical level, now that's gone, there's no hope, and in my opinion, you need both to make a loving relationship work a lot of the time. Obviously it varies from person to person, but the general consensus is, you need to be mentally close, and by that I mean mentally you think of each other very highly, but not in a toxic way like how Blitz sees Stolas, in a way where it's like, oh, this person is good and I enjoy their company, but also the physical, because the physical ties into it. And I am giving it in a very general kind of way, because I know it can change and vary, obviously all the time it varies, but I am saying for one of those stereotypical, sorry to use that word, I know, I'm trying to get my point across, but in that very stereotypical way, having a mental connection, thinking highly of each other, enjoying each other's company in the mind, and thinking I like this person, I want to be around this person more. It's also the physical stuff that ties in, such as the touching, the getting close, and obviously the kind of stuff that Blitz and Stolas do. It's all a form of connection, but having one without the other, it can be really hard for the majority of people to deal with. And this show honestly does an amazing job of conveying that. The amount of emotion that's put into every scene, and the craft and the architecture, every single part of it, the way that it's crafted and brought together is perfect. That's my opinion, of course. You're completely entitled to yours, but for me, this show's perfect, because I don't see it for what's wrong with it. I don't even have Twitter, so I can't see all the drama. All I see is the show, what I see and what I take from it, and how my mind interprets those scenes. Therefore, I have no bias. I don't see the negativity. Maybe I am a bit biased on the positivity, but really, I don't go and speak to outside sources about the positive stuff. I do watch some reviews from time to time, but the way I view it is entirely positive, which you yourself are entitled to view as a bias. But I personally don't think it is, because I think positivity is just good anyway. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys disagree, please let me know. Just please do it in a kind manner. I know you might be mad at me, but like, I don't need to be shouted at for it. Just give some criticism, try and be polite, it's better for everyone. I want the average viewer to scroll down to the comment section and just see positivity, and any critiques that they see are quite well done and thought out, just so it doesn't clutter up the comment section with, oh my god, you're an idiot, how dare you. Try and keep it civilized, guys. Come on, we're all humans. See how his face completely drops. He's absolutely blasting his heart out into this song, repeating the other stuff, repeating, obviously it's a chorus, it's a song, blah, 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 but there's still the fact that he's repeating it over and over and getting it ingrained into his head. But then Verosika and Vortex jump in and ask him a question. Well, did it ever matter? Just to double check, they want to make sure that he replies with what they want to hear. And he does. But see how his face is like that? He's so unsure of it. Stolas is incredibly unsure of whether what he's saying is what he actually thinks. And it's not, is it? Because he still has that faith in Blitz, but no one else here does. So that's where the conformity is fully fledged and in action. He took all the blame in the beginning, and then in the middle, he noticed a bit of Blitz's faults and a bit of his own, but then after being reassured by everyone here, particularly those two, he's just decided to completely switch it up and just be like, okay, just drop the me stuff then. No one wants to hear it. No one's interested in hearing about what I have to say about myself. They're only interested about what I have to say about Blitz, because that's all they're here for. They're here for the Blitz hate. Like I said, no one cares when he sits down. Apart from obviously that one guy who comes and shows interest, no one else is there praising him and trying to get to know him. They only praise him for the song and then just walk off. everyone else here is pouring their heart into what they're doing and having fun with it too. So looking on the bright side of things, it is a way to enjoy yourself. And everyone in the crowd, even the people in the background performing the song who were smiling, the drummer here, the guitarist, Verosika on the backup vocals. I don't know about Vortex, maybe he's an ex of Blitz, we don't know. Doesn't seem like it though, but you never know what could have happened. This song is another way to cope with their emotions. It shows that they're not alone. This song reinforces that this is still happening and there's still more people, more and more, who are having to deal with this trauma and this stress. So having that sense of community is what keeps them all together. That's why they're so happy. Stolas can sing about this in a very heartfelt manner, and it hits them so incredibly deeply, and now they're all smiling and happy, thinking like, this hits me. I don't know if you've ever had that feeling when you see something and you just go, wow, I feel known, I feel seen and accepted. That's that feeling that they're all getting right now, is that feeling of acceptance, of being seen and noticed, that there's people like them in the world. Calling back to Has Been, they're all losers because of this particular situation. They view themselves as losers, and they are, because everyone is, but they view themselves as lesser than others. But when they see everyone here who also thinks the same way, it drags them in, and they realize it's not too bad. It's not as bad as they think. So it is a positive for the people trying to grieve and get through it in a positive light. That's why we shouldn't be so quick to assume that it's all bad, because at the end of the day, Verosika's doing it for the right reasons. It's just the execution that's a bit off, seeing as she assumes that every single breakup Blitz has is negative. Look at Blitz. He's completely broken. He's realized now. He's so upset. But then as soon as he approaches Stolas, he's drunk, and that kind of puts him out of this mood. This is another realization moment. This is the first of many in this episode. Look at how sad he is. How broken Blitz is. It's so unfortunate, but it's needed. It's absolutely needed. Poor Blitz. That obviously doesn't ignore his actions, nor does it give him more support over Stolas. All of that, blah, 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 the fine print. But here he's realizing how badly his actions affect others. Because he walked past people in the party when he just had that conversation with Verosika. He's walking out in sorrow, and as he's walking out, he sees all these people crying and wailing, absolutely depressed, and he'll walk past and think, I've not seen them for years, I've not spoken to them for years. Why are they still upset? And then he realizes then, this is the effect that I have. My actions have consequences, and the consequences can last for as long as what's perceived as needed. That's the moment where he's like, oh, this whole thing, I have done something wrong, and he wants to say sorry now. So both of them now, Stolitz, both the two characters are only seeing their own faults at this point. Regardless of what Stolas is saying, regardless of what Blitz is saying, it's all on the inside. This is Blitz realizing that his actions have consequences, and it gives him that thought of, I'm the problem again. I need to apologize. Stolas is up there. He's having a complex thinking, is it me? Is it Blitz? Is it both of us? But if you call back to the start of the song, he blamed himself, and now he's blaming Blitz. It's like the opposite. At the beginning, Blitz blamed Stolas for what happened, saying that he was never good enough. And Stolas did blame himself, and now Blitz is blaming himself, and Stolas is blaming him. But obviously it's shades of grey, because Stolas has this complex in his head. Therefore, at face value, the general consensus is it's flipped completely on its head. Though if you look deeper, there are some differences, but overall it is symbolic of the fact. Now he's hiding his face. He hides his face because he thinks, no one wants to see me. I'm a monster. I'm a waste of time, good for nothing monster. That's what he's thinking right now. I need to get out of here. I need to go away. But then he has that moment and he's like, I need to talk to Stolas. There's no way. I see him walking off on his own. I might as well go talk to him. But other than that, he probably would have walked out because he can't face it. But then he decided that split second, I have to face it. I have to go and talk to Stolas and say sorry. And it's a really big moment for him. If Stolas hadn't done this, it wouldn't have come as quickly. So thank you to Stolas for this amazing song, not only from a musical sense, but also from a lore and character perspective, because this is Blitz's first awakening. Well done to everyone. The team is amazing on the show. You have them pipes, go ahead. Use them. There he is breaking. That mask is slipping, it's dropping, it's shattering, just like the picture. The same way Blitz is shattering, and his personality, his ego is taking this massive hit, and there's cracks in it. It's breaking. Slowly, it's getting there. He needs to express himself at some point, and not just through shouting. He needs to actually genuinely get upset with someone. And he really gets close to that in this episode with Verosika, and possibly would have with Stolas if that guy didn't show up. See the crowd support there. The crowd support is just enforcing the fact that Stolas has to keep singing about Blitz and his downfall. This bit. Notice how Blitz has a heart on his head. That is the enjoyment. That's what Stolas sees. I think this is through Stolas' eyes, because Stolas is seeing Blitz and he sees a love heart on his head, which is Stolas looking at him. because if Blitz was looking at Stolas, there would probably be a love heart on his head too. But since there's a love heart on Blitz's head, it's quite obvious there that it is Stolas looking at him, because when he looks at him, he just sees love. He just sees love and acceptance and happiness at that point in time. And then look at this.
The mother.
That line, the broken line, and Blitz absolutely in peril, terrified. It's absolutely horrible to see them both break so badly in this song. But then look at the way that when this time he knew it had to happen, Stolas pulls away. And Blitz looks back with that broken heart. Now, Stolas views Blitz and looks at him. He just sees a broken heart. He sees, he's broken, I'm broken. We have to end this now. And he yanks away. He pulls away, and the confusion in Blitz's eyes, because we see that last episode. Blitz was confused and didn't see it as real, because Stolas pulled away and said, listen, we can't do this anymore. He was the one who took action. Though he's at fault, he was the one who took action first. And then Blitz was scared, worried. This is him. Just the eyes, you can see that he's terrified. Just like he was in that episode, he's terrified of not being enough. And then the mask is back there. That's when he puts the mask back on and starts walking out like there's just nothing. There's no reason to be upset. Doesn't matter. It doesn't affect him. Of course it doesn't. Obviously, yes it does. Because look at him now. And what else to say but an absolutely amazing musical number. Oh my goodness. Wow. The team did phenomenal on this one. I hope you guys on the team are all doing well, because we need more of this, because you guys are absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely amazing. But anyway, that's enough now. I'm going to put my Blitz mask back on and pretend like I don't have emotions. All right, here we are. We've got 3 minutes and 45 seconds to digest, so let's just get straight into it. So as you may be able to tell, this takes place right after the All To You song, which I did analyze. And those Stolas seem to be agreeing with the overall consensus of the crowd, which was obviously Blitz is an asshole. He walks away now filled with shame and guilt. It's as if he still wasn't fully sure that what he said and was influenced to say by the rest of the crowd was true. He's still at a point of questioning, since obviously his mind wasn't going to change that easily. Therefore now his expression reads, oh no, was that the right decision? Did I say the right thing? Am I really the bad guy? Is it back to square one where he thought he was in the wrong the entire time? And that's why right after this scene he goes for a drink, which I'll get to in a minute. But we can still see at the start of this, Blitz is still upset, and then immediately as I press play, he kind of jumps as he sees Stolas walking off, since obviously he just had that moment where he's heard Stolas singing his heart out, tugging at everyone's heartstrings, including Blitz's unknowingly, and that kind of got Blitz in the feels. He was all worked up and so focused on his own emotions, and trying to repress them obviously, that it took him a moment to notice that Stolas was walking off stage. But now he realizes that he has an opening, and he can tell, like I've said previously, Blitz is observant, that there's something not right with Stolas just based off his face. And he's also thinking, well, he's just had that big emotional moment, he might want someone to talk to. And who better than the guy who he's probably thinking about the most right now, his ex-lover, Blitz. So Blitz is like, yeah, I'm gonna go over there, and then chaos ensues, obviously.
Let's get wild!
You can see there that he looks down as if he's trying to doubt himself. Should I do it? Should I not? And obviously he takes that deep breath, well, half a deep breath, and just goes, hey, it's now or never. Might not have this opportunity for a while. Let's just go do it. Here it is now. It's starting to warm up. The analysis brain is on. First thing that Stolas does, grab a drink. He does it all the time. A prime example of this is near the end of the circus in season 2 episode 1, where Stolas wakes up right after a blackout just after Ozzy's, where he indulged in a lot of alcohol because it's all over him and all over his face, quite frankly, over Blitz, over that trauma, that kind of moment of intense emotion that he didn't want to deal with, so he went, nah, I'll put it to the side and I'll just have a drink for now to cope. That's what many people do, and don't worry, he's not alone, and if you do it at home, you're not alone either. As long as you recognize that it's bad for you, because, you know, some people don't, just like Stolas, then you can eventually, all hope from me, break out of that addiction cycle, that immediate turn to comfort instead of facing your emotions head on. Because that's many reasons why people do it, is to get away from that emotional confrontation. But like I said, you're not alone. We're all losers. You know that from a certain show. So do with that what you please.
Hey.
Blitz, what are you doing here?
And the funny thing is, despite the fact that he does this all the time, and every time he has this moment, he immediately goes to the drink, he's so easily drunk, and I know that bottle has vortex on it, which may symbolize that it's Beetlejuice or something, so it's a lot stronger. But still, though he did drink a lot, it's nowhere near the dosage it'll take for everyone else at the party to get as drunk as he is right now. Let's be honest, that is how it is. He gets drunk so easily. It truly shows how unsociable Stolas has been his entire life, that for one, he doesn't really know how to act at a party, and two, the fact that he can't take the heavier drink drinks shows that he isn't really used to that party life, which ultimately links back to his upbringing. He was very isolated, he didn't have many friends, he struggled to socialize and connect with others, and in addition to all of that, he struggled to handle his emotions too. He was always told by his father to suppress his emotions, as we see in the circus, where Paimon tells Stolas to cease his bitch crying in quotes, because it was, quotes again, an ugly noise. And his marriage with Stella didn't help either, because as we can see from the exact same episode, Stella would ridicule him for showing emotion, which led to even more repression. And then eventually when he got to Blitz, who was also a very reserved person, brought up in a different environment that made it much more extreme for him, where he could be social and things like that, but he couldn't make connections. You gotta feel bad for Stolas, man. This coping here, it's very messy, but also there's some Blitz stuff to get to, so don't think that I'm picking sides just yet.
You're lucky everyone is drunk, or you would be murdered right now.
Ah, no, it's good. I'm in a disguise.
See how Blitz completely changed when Stolas was using that attitude with him. He obviously doesn't mean that, he's just more loose because of the drink. But then Blitz takes advantage of that and uses it as a way to get his mask back on. Since Stolas is less aware, he's just like, be playful, but then Stolas is like, boom, brings him over. And then as Blitz begins talking again, he remembers why he was here and how he opened this conversation, which was in a saddened emotional mood. And he recedes back into that, which isn't really receding, is it? It's more extruding, seeing as it's a new thing to him. He's not used to being emotional, so yeah, he's doing the opposite of that. He tries to recede back into his mask now, back into that shell, that turtle shell, but then eventually comes back out of it through being like, hey, why am I here? I'm here to talk to Stolas because I'm very emotional and my mind is racing about him. I need to let him know how I feel. And that's why I really love this show. They have all these little conflicts with the characters' emotions that are very subtle, but when in a big overarching analysis setting where you're analyzing every single frame or every single little bit, little segment, things like that, you notice these small things. And it's those finer details that make this show so amazing. Every single time you find something different that you didn't notice previously. So as I say all the time, congratulations to the animators, the writers, the team, you're amazing. And I'll say it this early in the video, you guys are absolute inspirations. And I'm not just saying that. I'm genuinely passionate about Helluva Boss, despite the fact that I don't even work on it. I'm passionate about all the things that I talk about because guess what? I'm having fun too because I'm passionate about my content, which makes me passionate about everything that I cover in the content. So yeah, this recording analysis setting makes me appreciate the show even more because I'm noticing all these details. And because I'm in a positive environment right now, because I obviously enjoy recording, I'm very positive about the show. I'm saying things that I hadn't previously mentioned to my friends when I first asked them, hey, how'd you like the episode? And then when they asked me, I just like, yeah, it was good. I never mentioned all this other stuff. And this is just why I love making these videos. They allow us all to appreciate the material that we consume and how much effort goes into it. So thank you guys. Thank you to the team for this amazing show. And of course, a lot of gratitude coming from me to you guys in the audience watching this video because I wouldn't be here without you. Anyway, enough of that, back to the episode analysis. Now we get this little walking sequence where Blitz is obviously trying to stay hidden because, you know, he's a wreck. People do not want to see him right now. They're all just there kind of doing what they're doing, indulging in the fact that they hate Blitz, which is quite toxic, but I explain that in another video, so you can go watch that if you would like. And then you got Stolas being an absolute drunken idiot in the back, but I do have to show appreciation in a minute because I won't do it just yet. I just did it a second ago. To Bryce Pinkham for these amazing Stolas lines that you can hear in a minute.
Wow. I've never seen you throw him back like this.
Even Blitz notices that he's never seen Stolas like this before. This has hurt him so much. This is probably the most hurt that he's ever felt in his life. The one person who he found that he connected with, that he loved, he genuinely loved, even though he didn't say it, he loved. Now that's presumably out the window. He's completely a wreck. He just doesn't know what to do, and that's why he resorts to this immediately. Because it's new territory for him. He's not used to it, which is completely fine because many of us would do the same. We'd go straight to comfort when we're in uncomfortable situations, in scenarios that are very alien to us. That's just the same with any being, fact or fictional. Anything with a consciousness is bound to feel these type of emotions at a certain point, unless they're cold-blooded, so just ignore that. And coping mechanisms are widely popular, even across nature. If you accidentally step on a rat's tail, where's it gonna go? It's gonna scurry off back to its home. In similar vein, if you step on a dog's tail, sorry to say that, it's a bit distressing, but anyway, if it was to happen, they would run straight to their owner or wherever they feel safe. Comfort and coping mechanisms are everywhere throughout nature. Don't think that you're the only one to do it, especially not in your own species, because we do it so much that there's an entire term for it. It's all good. You're not alone.
Came just to judge me, is that it?
No, I just...
Stolas' immediate thought, even though he's drunk and he's in all this different feels right now, that Blitz is there to judge him and argue, which we know obviously he clearly isn't, but that just shows how much he's hurt people, that their immediate reaction, their immediate thought is that Blitz coming to this party is the best thing for him to do, because he can see how he's affected people, how he's hurt them, and that ultimately leads to him fully wanting a change in himself. So it could be said that Stolas' comments and all these people around are essential. There's little building blocks that all build up over time, over this episode, and arrive in full force in the form of a realization that leads to him wanting to change himself and become better, because he sees what better is. He sees what Stolas wants with that imp later on. There's so many different things that intertwine together with it. So all these things that each connotate to this party in general are what lead to that realization. So overall, this party is what changed Blitz. The one thing that it stood for, that it was meant to celebrate, which was the hating of Blitz because he's a bad person, is ultimately the environment, the thing that allowed him to sit back and think, hey, I need to do something. Something needs to happen because I don't want to be like this. Like he says, not forever. So this party overall is the best thing for him. Isn't that great? Isn't that a great way to put it? It's such a more positive way to look at this party. Despite all the negatives that it has and all the things that I mentioned in my Verosika video, there's still the undeniable fact that parts of it led up to Blitz wanting a change. So that is great. And it's also great writing, which, you know what? No more simping. Come on, Cryptid. You can get your head in the game, man.
This was the final stop on the apology tour I've been on today.
Oh, yes, I recall. Everyone but me is getting your cheap apologies tonight.
Cheap apologies. Obviously, Stolas knows Blitz's first instinct when it comes to an apology, which is to shout, scream, and take the absolute piss. So he's not having any of it. He immediately walks off. He's not interested because he's coping right now. I'm having a good time coping. Tomorrow it'll hurt like hell and all the thoughts will come back to me and I'll indulge again and it'll just be an endless cycle, blah, blah, blah. All that addiction stuff, which is horrible, but it has to be skimmed over because it's a bigger, more broader topic that I can't explain right now. And also the fact that I'm not fully educated on it, so I don't really want to make any false claims. But at this point, Stolas is indulging and he just says, hey, basically through his actions, of course, because the only words that come out of his mouth are an insult, so take with that what you will. He's saying, leave me alone. I just want to indulge and forget all this ever happened and just chill. Which, though is a kind of valid thing to do, the way in which he's doing it is not ideal. I'm forgetting it as well. I mean, I guess calming down will be the only good thing about this is chilling. Chilling's a good way to do it. Just chill, calm down, cool off, and make sure you're all settled before tackling the hard bit. So in the healthiest way that you can, obviously that's not always available. Sometimes the only thing that you can turn to are those drinks, those horrible habits. But if you possibly could, try and chill off in a healthy way. That's always the greatest thing. But if you really need to, whatever cools you down and allows you to chill, to get into the right headspace, so you can then tackle those negative thoughts, that's great. Just calm down. Come on, guys. Just calm down. Deep breaths.
Well, you certainly have your work cut out for you.
Look, how I acted this morning, it was fucked.
Like, you can see here that Stolas keeps going for drinks. It's as if he can't stop. Every time he sees some alcohol, he's just taking it every single time. Obviously, as we know, it's a way to cope. Since a situation like this is quite new to him, it's very unfamiliar. Because he's never really fell in love with someone or felt the feeling of rejection. And now that he feels it, he feels the emotion of missing someone so much that you love so dearly and in that particular way. Obviously, he'll miss Octavia, but he misses Blitz in a different way because he loved him as a partner. And the realm of heartbreak is completely uncharted territory for him. And that's why he's turning to all these drinks, because he doesn't really know how to handle it. And I've said that previously, I'm pretty sure, from my memory. But hey, if I have to keep repeating things, that just shows how good the writers are at keeping continuity. But yeah, as we can see, Stolas is just indulging in all this stuff to get away from his problems. And you know what? I can't blame him for it, as I've said for the past I don't know how many minutes. But the sad thing is, Blitz is trying to apologize. He's doing his best to try and get to Stolas and say, hey, I'm sorry, please. I just want to apologize, sit down, have a chat. But Stolas is so out of it because of all this stuff that's going on in his head and how disconnected from reality he is right now. He's not in the mood to talk, especially after that song that's kind of got him torn. He just doesn't want to deal with the emotions or thoughts. So instead of making a rational decision on whether Blitz is good or bad or a bit of both, he's just like, hey, this party's about hating Blitz. I might as well just hate Blitz while I'm here because it'll get me out of all the drama. Just hate Blitz because everyone else hates Blitz. So I can escape from all those negative feelings for one night. until I have to do it again tomorrow and the day after, until I finally decide I'm gonna sit down and listen to my thoughts and try and get through them in a rational sense. But that's not happening yet, is it? Though it is really sad to see Blitz trying. He is trying, he wants something to change, and he is getting a bit desperate now, isn't he? Because like I said, you've seen the emotion that it's given him, that song. It gave Stolas these mixed emotions, and then through those lyrics, Blitz got those, he received those while listening to the song, and it gave him emotion, and those emotions, he was like, I have these emotions, and I just need to get them out, and who can I trust? Really, right now, who can I kind of trust? And he's like, Stolas, because Stolas has been essentially the entire reason why Blitz is here right now on the apology tour. So that's why when he sees him walking off, he's like, I'm gonna go talk to him, man. I need to say something. But it's really upsetting to see him just getting rejected and ignored over and over again, even though he is trying to make a change. Maybe not fully right now. Maybe he's still torn between the two decisions. But like I said in my Verosika video, he definitely realizes at the end that he does want to change, that he can change. Because everyone else is trying to change, why can't he? Honestly, looking at these scenes and how they build up to the final one with Verosika and how it leads to everything else happening after that, and especially to look back in retrospect after the new episodes come out, it's amazing to see how the writers have built this up, even in a couple of minutes, which this is minutes between this speech and the final speech with Verosika and Blitz. Yet there's so much development and change that still makes sense continuity-wise. It does make sense in the story, which is great. That's what's really good about this show and its writers. And I did see the other day, I'll link this up in the card right now, a podcast interview with Viv, and she said that she's got way more writers on the show now, like big head, lead, writer, director guys, I don't know, big writers, people who make a lot of good decisions, big decisions for the show. So that just means that since this is a 4-season set show, that the next 2 seasons after season 2 are going to be banging, because they have way more writers on the scripts now, so everything will make even more sense, and then hopefully, all those people out there criticizing the show right now, saying the continuity is not right, blah, 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 and obviously I don't see that, because I'm very positive, but though people think that, I'm hoping that that can all be eliminated, or at least it is ignored right now, but anything that you can do to try and help it, despite the fact it's not important. The criticism is important, but like the negativity isn't, but any way you could try and help that and alleviate that without much effort, you know, little effort to kind of make that negative side of the community a little lighter, a little less negative, you know what I mean? It's always great if it's at a little cost, and it probably is, because it enhances the show, makes it better, and a side product of that, which is obviously not the full reason as to why they got more writers, it was for the first reason, it'll hopefully see some of the negativity surrounding it. So that's a really big thing that you want to look forward to, isn't it?
This morning? Why did you show up?
Can I just say, you didn't really hear much of it when I pressed play then, but the sips that Bryce Pinkham does, why are they so effective though? Why are they so good? Bryce Pinkham is honestly amazing, and the drunk Stolas voice, I want to get onto this now. He's so good at playing a drunk. Like, acting is one thing, acting's great, but the next level is acting as a character under certain conditions, such as alcohol, drugs, people who can act without taking, maybe he took a bit of alcohol for the shoot, or for the recording, but either way, you can still emulate that drunken voice through a character as well, when you're playing a character with a certain voice and a certain accent, and you can add that on top of that. I mean, I don't know if he was drunk in the booth, like I said, but either way, it's still really good acting. And obviously, that doesn't disregard Brandon. Brandon's amazing all the time, and honestly, to see Blitz have emotion, in my opinion, Brandon did it great, since he knows Blitz so well. He literally says that if he relates to his characters most, I'm pretty sure, he said Blitz, which is that's a phenomenal thing, like an actor who literally loves the character that they play. They're a writer on the show. Isn't that just so cool? But yeah, I think that Brandon's way of portraying a Blitz, an emotional Blitz, is really well done, especially because he knows the character so well and all that stuff. He has an idea in his head of how Blitz will sound trying to, oh no, not trying to be, but being emotional. And I tell you what, as you can tell here, he does a great job of it, like I said, so huge props to those two. They work together so well, don't they? Anyway, back to the analyzing.
Why did you show up here?
You already asked that, but look, I just really need to talk to you,
And here's the thing in the animation and just the mannerisms of Stolas in general. Being drunk, he's not really in the right headspace, like I said, so he's quite touchy in a weird way, even though he doesn't like Blitz, and he's like, why did you come here? The show still recognizes that he's in that weird sleepy state and shows that perfectly on screen, since he's leaning on Blitz in quite a babyish manner, talking to him in the same vein, like a baby. He has a bit of a babyish voice going on there, another thing that Bryce did really well. But also the way that Blitz is kind of looking up and down a lot, he's moving, his eye movements are very all over the place. That more or less shows that he wants to change the topic, he kind of wants to get onto the apology, he's trying to move the things along, but but he knows that he has to be slow, seeing as he's been drunk before and he's seen people drunk for his entire life. He knows how people act, especially people who take this much, though really he's still caught off guard by the fact that Stolas is this drunk because he's never seen him in this state. And though that did come as a surprise to him, one sad thing that I consider is the fact that he knows how to deal with it. His entire life has been around these types of people, this lifestyle of just getting drunk and forgetting things. When things go wrong, just indulge in whatever. Take a drink. People say that now in real life. Just drink a beer and forget about it. Oh, hey, mate, you want a beer? You know, you're having a bad time, you're getting a divorce, just take one of them. It's a great portrayal of the real world. It's a very relatable thing to many people. And though drinking itself isn't inherently bad, though it is kind of undeniable that it's bad for you in very high volumes, people still enjoy it. Just like, you know, Pepsi's bad for you, other things, sugar and stuff, that's all bad for you in a regular dose even, that's kind of still bad for you. You could do without sugar a lot of the time, or at least without artificial sugar. But when it's used in this manner for this reason, like I've said before, that's the disconnect from regular old healthy drinking for pleasure and this unhealthy, crippling obsession of, and I quote, a very popular quote, drinking to forget. So there it is. Helluva Boss, the indie adult animation TV show, giving us some relatable portrayals of realism before the release of GTA 6. There it is. I'm throwing a meme in there to make it more lighthearted. And actually, it already is lighthearted, to be fair. It's quite a great achievement.
To explain, I've always been real
we see there Blitz's sigh of kind of a bit of frustration because he wants to move on to this topic, but Stolas is just like, ugh. Since Blitz is here and he's like, this is my chance to apologize, this is my opportunity. But then Stolas is kind of ruining it for him since he's in this state. But who got him into that state? Blitz, you kind of pushed him there, let's be honest, buddy. But as I've said before, and I'll say every time I talk about Stolitz, no one's in the right and no one's in the wrong. You can't say that either one is in the right or the wrong because it's none and all. If you want an explanation on what I mean, you can go and check my other analysis, but I'm sure that you can kind of pick that up already. So yeah, Blitz is trying to seize his opportunity, but Stolas' state isn't really accommodating to Blitz's presence right now. But as I said, it is kind of Blitz's fault. Also a bit of Verosika's because obviously he's just done that song and he's like all these different mixes of emotions, so you could say that it's Verosika's fault, but it's also Vortex's and the crowd. Everyone who told him to do that song kind of attributed to it, but overall it is just Blitz in general that might have got him. Well, yeah, it would have pushed him here. It's just that All To You, the song, was the final straw, the one that broke the camel's back. The final push there, off that cliff into the depths of alcohol land. So yeah, Blitz, I can see your pain. I understand where you're coming from because you are wanting to change, but Stolas doesn't know that. Also, he's drunk, so he'll not really understand that if you try to tell him anyway. Though I do really applaud Blitz, even if he's not being very observant right now, not being like, okay, we should do this another time, he is still persevering. Though this is the one time that I would say perseverance isn't really the best option, since you could probably just leave him at this point, or try and give him a ride home. That would probably be something you could do, because what he really needs to do is sleep on it, and then leave him the next day as well, because he'll be hungover. And then fingers crossed that he doesn't indulge again that night, and then the day after, you can then go and see him and say, hey, I want to apologize, you know, to actually do it this time, Blitz, not like this morning where you screwed up so hard because you were like, the gayest thing. No, we're not doing that. Though back to serious critical analysis mode, it is really unfortunate for both characters, but the portrayal of it is honestly amazing. Another thing that could kind of connotate towards Blitz's growly sigh there is the idea that he's kind of having an inner conflict trying to get these emotions out, but also his mind is saying, no, repress those emotions. And the fact there was a bit of growliness in that sigh kind of shows that he wants to say this thing, and he's already torn, seeing as what I said before, the first reason, but he's also not so used to being so emotive and getting his emotions and feelings out in a very calm sense. He's used to just shouting and degrading and going for the ego, right for the throat. This is such an unfamiliar world to him, so they're both in an unfamiliar world right now. They're kind of similar in very strange ways. Stolas has never experienced heartbreak, and Blitz has never experienced the push to be emotive. Well, obviously, he probably has done previously, but each and every time he let his mind win and repress his emotions instead of listening to his gut and his heart, which were both saying in unison, do it, be emotive, express your emotions, tell him how you feel, but each and every time he was listening to his brain, which was obviously saying, don't do it, repress, be horrible, scream at him, shout at him, any way to get rid of him, cause as much damage as possible. But now he's fighting off that urge. He's like, no, I have the willpower to do what's best for me. I know that my heart knows the way.
shit at sorries, okay? They're for pussies, and no one fucking deserves them anyway, but
Stolas really makes this scene, doesn't he? Because we can see Blitz trying to open up and trying to get through this conflict, but it adds a bit of comedy to it. Since Stolas is just being drunk going, no. Literally Blitz in episode 8 of season 1. Not interested at all, or pretending to not be interested. Well, yeah, no, not interested genuinely now, because obviously when you get drunk, you're not really interested in anything. But if this was sober Stolas and he was trying to do this, there'd be a reason behind that, and that's because he's pretending to not be interested in talking to Blitz. But because obviously he's drunk, he is genuinely just not not interested in anything, quite frankly. He just wants to drink. And obviously, I bring this up as a quite light-hearted thing, but it is a really deep subject, which I obviously went over before anyway. But just to let you know, just a bit of clarity there, so none of y'all are mistaken or read me wrong. But it's all good if you do, and I will say at this part of the video, I think this is around the time that I should say this. But if you disagree with any of my points, please let me know in the comments. Just please try and be civil about it in any way that you can. Just saying, hey, I disagree with this. This is what I actually think. This is my opinion. And then I'll probably end up replying to you saying, yep, that's really great. And actually, I'll make this point now. Someone told me the other day that my responses sound AI generated. Trust me, they're not. I'm just trying to use different words because sometimes comments get boring if I'm like, cool, epic, amazing several times. So I'll be there on thesaurus.com, like different word for intriguing, just to make it seem more personal, because it really is. I'm putting that extra effort in to make a personalized, non-copy pasted message. And I do just generally sound AI generated a lot of the time. I don't know why.
But I felt like maybe you actually needed one.
See how hard that was for Blitz to say. He's just there looking again, trying to divert his attention, his eyes, from making eye contact with Stolas. It'd be even worse if he was sober, to be fair, because Blitz would know that he's going to remember everything that he says. Right now, it's more of kind of, it's like a therapy session, but you're talking to a semi-sentient doll. Like, the doll's got a sense of sentience, and that's just making it basically drunk like Stolas is right now, and it won't remember what you tell it, but it is something that exists that you can tell it to. So yeah, maybe this conversation will alleviate some of the pain for Blitz and some of that struggle to make that change in his personality, in his life, and have that realization, seeing as he spoke to a sentient being about it, one that he's very close to and cares for a lot. But there is that little sprinkle there of the fact that he's drunk. He probably won't remember it, so it's more alleviating for him. It's kind of easier. It makes it an ease to do, just to get that bit of weight off his shoulders.
Oh, lucky me.
Oh, shit. Okay, what I mean is...
It's just so unfortunate that Stolas had to indulge in this to get away. There was no other way for him to cope. It's so upsetting for both characters. Stolas has tried his best. Yeah, he's made some mistakes, but they were noticed in a previous video of mine. And Blitz here is working just as hard. He's trying his best. He might not have been doing before because he was so misled, and the person who he was at the time was so unaware, but now he is becoming more aware each and every moment. He's getting closer and closer to that realization that he has near the end of the episode. He's trying his best right now. He's trying to fight those demons, in a metaphorical sense, obviously, to say what he truly wants to say, to show Stolas how he truly feels. There's so much conflict going on in Blitz right now, and honestly, I applaud him for how much effort he's putting in, that he's trying. And he feels so rejected after this when Stolas goes off with that guy, that when he sees Verosika, he puts that mask back on and starts screaming at her again, because that's the most comfortable that he is. That's where he's most comfortable, is with that mask on, that annoying, quote-unquote, confident facade, which at the end of the day, without self-love and without self-confidence, there is no confidence. And Blitz holds no self-love nor any self-confidence, therefore, the confidence that he's radiated off of him is just off the mask. It's fake confidence. Just like the mask is, it's fake. So everything that comes from the mask is also fake. A lot of the opinions, the views, a lot of the stuff that comes from it just isn't real. It doesn't have any value. But at this point, he really is letting that mask slip, and he's allowing it to. And the mask is trying to climb its way back onto his face, but he's not letting it happen because he's in Stolas' presence. It's only when he leaves and he's back on the apology tour, because he connotates Verosika, the speech with Verosika, as just something on the apology tour. Something that he has to do, just like the cherubs, just like the agents, all of them. Every person who he's quote-unquote apologized to today, Verosika is seen as just as important as them. No more, no less. But it's only when they have that talk and he realizes how much Verosika's changed and how she's become a better person, she's trying to help others despite the flaws in her operation, that's when he realizes, hey, Verosika is more than just something on the list, an enemy, because she's not an enemy, is she? She's something way different, someone who loved him and genuinely wants the best for him. So yeah, I applaud Blitz completely here, despite the fact that this entire time he hasn't tried to change once. But hey, best place to start is the present, right? You can't just go back in time or go into the future and start then. You can only begin something when you have the opportunity to do that, to make that decision. That's always in the present. You can make decisions for the future in the present, but you can't go to the future and make a decision then go back to the present. So though he has done some bad things and he has been a shitty person in the past, I can kind of excuse it right now because I'm explaining and celebrating the great things that he's doing in the present moment, which is what is ultimately important.
He said sorry a lot today, and honestly, didn't really mean any of it, because the only one I wanted to say it to was you.
And there it
Stolas.
is, he looks away as well. The body language there is great storytelling because he's so not confident about saying this, but you see in a minute how much it hits Stolas, even through that drunken facade, the mask that the alcohol constructs over him. This statement goes straight through, straight into the conscious mind, the aware conscious mind of Stolas, all the way through that alcohol layer, just like an ozone layer or an atmospheric layer on the Earth. The Earth is the conscious mind, and the atmosphere there is the mask that's put on by the alcohol, and the sunlight is Blitz's hard-hitting statement, and it goes straight through. The atmosphere could not catch it. It was so powerful, and it went straight there, and it hit the Earth, and it hit that spot in his brain, and genuinely made him concerned. We'll see this now. Completely and utterly sober, just for that 1 second. God, this is great. It's so good. These two really complex characters are being portrayed so well in this scene. Honestly, dude, round of applause.
Thing we had going. I mean, you're a fucking prince. How could you ever actually care for an imp?
Obviously, there is that theory that Blitz had a previous Goetia or higher up royal blue blood partner in the past. But aside from that theory stuff, what we know is concrete is that something in his past has caused him to think like this. Whether it's his upbringing, especially his father, who says that they're rich Fs and he's got to steal from them, as we see in the circus. There's also the thought that they are lesser in Hell's hierarchy, and they're brought up thinking that, growing up with that mindset that they are the worst of the worst, the bottom of the barrel, that no one wants them and no one could learn to love them at all, that they can only marry their own kind and can only be loved by their own kind. That is probably what led Blitz to think that beings like Verosika and Stolas couldn't love him because they were so much higher in the hierarchy. Therefore, he was insignificant, worthless, and didn't matter. And the whole thing that he's had with Stolas, that he's always viewed as an arrangement, has always been told by Stolas, to be fair, as an argument for what Stolas did wrong. Stolas told him that it was an arrangement this whole time and always called him and teased him for being an imp. And though he himself probably thought it was light-hearted, it's still undeniable that he probably should have been more observant and saw that Blitz didn't take very well to it. But then again, the mask that he puts on doesn't show any fear, pain, or regret. That's all seen outside of it. He tries to be strong for everyone, to make people think of him as this amazing, cool guy who can't be affected. But really, that's not true. So yes, Stolas should have been more observant and stopped making the imp jokes and stopped being very deprecating. But also, Blitz's mask made it very hard for people to notice. Another thing on Stolas' end, at the start of the episode when they have that argument, he has this line where he goes, "When did I ever?" He shouldn't have said that. I know it was heated in the moment, which is probably why he said it, so therefore it could be kind of excused. But it's also an invalid argument that would have got in Blitz's head, because he would remember that argument and think, was he giving me signs this entire time that I didn't notice? You always need to watch what you're saying, even in heated discussions and arguments, since you could always say something that would stick with a person, and even though you didn't mean it like that, you were just saying it out of anger or fear or nervousness. If they take that to heart and overthink and overanalyze it in their heads, you could have given them a really bad complex. So you should always watch what you're saying. Definitely. Though I do feel for both of them. They've got their own crap going on in their heads, but hey, who the hell doesn't?
Me. How could anybody?
Blitz.
And there it is. He changes it from royals and all these big people not being able to love an imp to not being able to love him because he's not worth loving. But then here, Drunken Stolas has a really good argument, which we'll get to, which kind of lightens the mood, but still, Blitz is the way that he thinks about himself. You can tell. You can see through that mask now. Obviously, it's not there. It's not there as much, at least. No feeling of self-worth and no self-love, which therefore means he has no real confidence, in my opinion. Confidence itself is derived from a feeling of self-love and self-confidence. And then, through those two factors, they radiate off of you because they become a part of your personality, that you love yourself and you have a lot of confidence in yourself, and that's what creates the confidence that we see as true confidence. Fake confidence would be what Blitz has. He wants everyone to think that he's confident, and therefore puts on this mask to appear that way. But if you're literally attempting to harness the power of confidence, that clearly shows that the confidence you're going to get from it isn't going to be real because you're doing it for the wrong reasons, you're using it in the wrong way. That version of confidence that Blitz is seeking for is found through a different way, through having self-confidence, which then radiates off into that kind of confidence. And it's also a more tame way to do it, because if you have nothing to hide and you're being genuine, that confidence will be a lot nicer, if that makes sense. You'll be a kind of person because you'll love yourself and you'll want people to love you, and therefore, if you treat yourself with love, you'll treat everyone else with love, which is what's amazing. So yes, Blitz is kind of torn. I've been saying this the entire time, but the point still stands, doesn't it?
There is a crowd full of people here who cared so much
They throw an entire fucking party about hating you.
There we go. Stolas has a really valid point. Hey, buddy, wake up, bucko. Everyone here is trying to cope with what you did because they cared about you. People can care for you. It doesn't matter if they're an imp, a succubus, a royal, anything else above or below that. They can still care for you. And here's a prime example. That's why it's great that Blitz came here. I said that previously. This party was the ideal thing for Blitz. It was the best thing for him because it showed him how many people truly cared for him. And that leads him to think, these people could care for me. Therefore, more people out there could also care for me. But I've seen this now. I've noticed the ways that my actions in the present right now and in the past have affected these people. And I can look back on that and think, what did I do wrong? Is there anything that I could do for next time to try and improve myself? Next time I found someone who cares or could seem to care about me, could I treat them differently so that if anything was to happen in the future, maybe I break up with someone, maybe I don't break up with someone, maybe I stay with them to keep them staying for longer and for as long as we're compatible, what there can I change? And then he can reflect on it and become a better person through those past experiences because we can only learn through experience a lot of the time. It's like children. If you tell them not to swing on the chair, they're probably not going to believe you until they swing too far back and fall off and then realize, ouch, that hurts, not going to do that again. A lot of the time we don't want to listen to people's advice or caution and then end up doing it ourselves anyway. And then through negative experience or positive experience, we learn not to do it again. Like I said, it could also be positive. If you try something out and you really enjoy it, that's something that you experience, such as maybe skiing or something. Maybe you go skiing on a vacation one time, then you come home and say, I want to go back there. I want to go and ski. Maybe I get skiing lessons or something like that. The best way for a conscious being to learn is through experience. And it's through those experiences and sometimes traumas that we can break out and become better and understand ourselves more. So yeah, I don't really know what we were talking about. I kind of lost track there, but yeah, good stuff.
Every year. Do you know how much you have to care to do something as stupid as that?
Alright, Stolas, relax now, buddy, but it is true, isn't it? I won't go over this right now, but I did in my Verosika video. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of care to set up this entire party. And really, though it can be a way for people to get closure, that might not always be the right way for some people. Some people might need to improve themselves to have closure. To be able to move on from that, they might have to act on it in a different way instead of just going and throwing darts at a fake cardboard cutout. Like I said, it could still work for some people. It may be a therapeutic thing, but it is quite temporary. A long-term way to do this is to slowly improve over time, and you might feel that pain for a longer period of time, but it's nowhere near as many times if you added up all the short bursts of times that you would have in between these moments. You know, if you were doing something more quick, a more quick burst of dopamine, though that would be quicker and feel better in the moment, the thoughts would come back a lot faster, and if you kept doing that for long term, it wouldn't really be very sufficient. But if you chose to deal with the pain for a longer period and sit with it and slowly improve, the dopamine would build up over time, and then you'd have a constant stream of it that's just very subtle but just enough, and eventually at the end of it you'll feel like a better person, you'll have a lot more love for yourself, and you won't really have those thoughts anymore, and whenever they come back you'll be a lot stronger and have a lot more clarity and be able to deal with them a lot more rationally. So really, an ideal way of closure that I would say is more generic, but it is kind of the right way. People don't really think of it as a generic correct way, but really it is. But sufficing for an exponential climb instead of a bunch of spikes, which you don't want to just go up and go straight back down. You'd rather rise slowly, but then stay there for a long period of time. That's what leads me to think that it's the ideal option. Anyway, really great stuff here in this scene.
Liz, you are better off without me, okay? You deserve so much. I don't even know why you would want to be with me.
See all that emotion in that. You could hear all that emotion from Blitz. He was about to cry at some point in that. And then you see Stolas with his hands over his face, which I could analyze, but since he's more drunk right now, I'm not really analyzing the real Stolas. It's more this masked Stolas that's just kind of doing things. I could say a lot of things about his actions right now, but they're so sporadic that it is more or less just the drink, the alcohol getting to him. But Blitz, seeing as he's sober, there's a lot to say about him because he's genuinely ripping his heart out and diminishing this giant ego that he has. The ego that's only goal is to make itself bigger by destroying other people's ego. He's turning his back on it. He's backstabbing himself and saying, no, you've been stealing power from others for too long. I'm gonna destroy this ego right now. I'm not gonna listen to you. I'm just gonna disregard everything you're saying and completely destroy you. Just ignore you. Don't even pay attention to you. And that is the worst thing for an ego. When an ego doesn't get any attention, when it doesn't get what he wants, it'll eventually just crack and diminish. And all you got left self then is your genuine true self a lot of the time, unless there are some other things that are kind of interfering with it, other emotions. But the ego is usually the big thing there that distracts people because it makes them think that they're amazing, nothing can affect them. And when it does, it really hits that ego as well when they do get affected by their emotions. And that's why being emotional is a great way to destroy it as well. Ignoring it and being emotional, going against everything that an ego stands for, is the best way to get rid of it. And Blitz is doing an amazing job right now of that. Honestly, Blitz, you're a legend, man. You are a legend in the making. You're not quite there yet, but you are going to get there at some point. And I do believe in you, and I trust that you will get there soon. Love you, dude. Great scene. Let's keep going.
You want to know what I want? I want to know what it's like to not be alone.
And now you're saying, hey, Cryptid, didn't you say that drunk people are bad? Wait, what? Didn't you say that Stolas is drunk so he doesn't have many genuine emotions or feelings? Well, my dear viewer, if you could try and recall anything in your mind relating to drinking, you might come across this one phrase that is quite common amongst many different cultures, and that is that drinking makes you emotional and loosens you up. Maybe you might have heard that before. So yes, that is exactly what it does. So though the movements are over-exaggerated, the thoughts and feelings and what I can really take from is the things that he says. His words are the most powerful at the moment because his actions are more exaggerated versions of what he's actually thinking, but his words are literally coming straight from his head out of his mouth. And that's why you hear so many stories of people confessing their love to people when they're drunk, because your mind is so loose it thinks there's no consequences. There is no shame there when you're drunk. It's just, I'll do it. That's why drunk people do stupid things such as drive, but that's an entire other ordeal that isn't really that funny, is it? But we're going to drive away from that negativity and go back to this positivity, which is, I'll be honest, pretty negative in itself.
I want to be someone's someone.
He's seeing how people are getting along, and obviously Blitz hasn't seen this yet. I said that when he was looking around, he was seeing how people were bonding over their hate for him, but right now he's got his head down. Not his head in his hands, but he kind of does at some points. He's very much down in the dumps, looking at his feet, trying to distract himself from the environment around him, trying to stay hidden. He's not really noticing his surroundings, but Stolas is. Stolas sees all these people having fun with each other, and he wants to be like them. He wants to bond with someone. He wants to have that connection, but he struggles so much to find that. And really, at the end of the day, this is what he's saying. That's all he wants. He just wants people to care. He wants people to want him, which I think is literally a quote that he says in about 2 seconds time that I've just remembered from the trailer. But it's really upsetting for Stolas though, isn't it? His execution is questionable and honestly absolutely horrible, if I'm being honest. Same with Blitz's, but their intentions are so much different from their actions. Their actions read so much different to the way that they're thinking and trying to execute it. Their motives and the way that they act on those motives to get there are completely different on a moral standpoint. And that's the one thing that they need to try and harness. It's that positive thought pattern and that ability to grow and achieve their goals with the thought of knowing that it will take time and a lot of patience. And also, the same mindset that came up with that conclusion, the thought that they need to stay calm and not react so fiercely when things don't go their way. Because they both do it, don't they? They both kind of freak out at some points. Blitz just does it a lot more, seeing as his childhood is obviously a little bit different to Stolas's, seeing as he is a lower class. Stolas never really had friends, never really had people who cared for him. He was quite neglected, whereas Blitz wasn't neglected, but he did have people who cared, but he couldn't accept that they did care, and he was also quite sociable. So there is a disconnect there, but still they end up in the same room together with similar conflicts.
I want to feel wanted, but like in a romantic way, like I'm standing out in the rain at a train station and someone is shouting, "Harriet, don't get on that train, it's going to London and I cannot be without you."
So you can see here that Blitz completely covers himself up because this is more of a comedy bit. Also, here's another reason why people need to cope a different way with their emotions, but that's for them to find out later down the line. But Stolas is saying that he wants to feel wanted. That's ultimately how he feels, which makes me think that he might be going after Blitz for different reasons. Maybe he just wants anyone to want him, anyone to care. And that's why when this guy shows up in a minute, he's so keen to interact and take him up on that offer because he's never been approached in that manner before. So it is really unfortunate for him, and I do feel super bad, but also I can't ignore the fact that these motives might be one of the only reasons. There's a chance that they are the only reasons why he still pursues Blitz. He might think that he loves him, but there's a chance that he just genuinely doesn't. The show could literally go in that direction and it would still make sense. That he just wanted to be loved by anyone and he's only chasing Blitz because Blitz is the only one who's in his life. He's too afraid to go find other people, other friends to talk to, other people to bond and connect with. It might just be the fact that Blitz showed up on his doorstep. He didn't chase Blitz. He didn't go after Blitz and say, Blitz, we haven't seen each other for 25 years. Blitz showed up first for a different reason that he doesn't know, but still. Maybe it's as simple as that. Maybe Stolas clutched onto the fact that Blitz showed up for me first. He wanted me. He was the one who made the first move. So there's no way that he could just go against it now. But hey, newsflash to you, buddy. It's unfortunately how it could have been if Blitz didn't care. Obviously he does, but that's a really flawed mentality to have if Blitz did just want it for the sex and for the arrangement. So obviously, Stolas, I can't really tell you this right now, buddy, but don't clutch onto that. If you're someone out there who might be similar to Stolas, who kind of clutches onto things like, they reached out to me, so they want me, they care for me. That's not always the case, unfortunately. So just don't clutch onto that if you can, and I wish you the best.
Oh, Stolas, that's a rom-com. Oh, fuck you. The point is, I just want someone to care. If I stay or go, I want someone to want
And also
me.
the fact he repeats lines similar to what he said in When I See Him in Full Moon. But then there's also that keyword of I want someone to care. It doesn't matter who it is. So that leads me to think that there might be some ulterior motive here, that he could just literally, like he does in a minute, be out looking for anyone. And he only clutched onto Blitz because, like I said, Blitz came first. Oh no. Cryptid. He was the one who approached Stolas first. And that's why when this demon approaches him in a minute, his immediate thought is, oh, you complimented me, you came up to me and you wanted to say that out of the kindness of your own heart, and then he's right on it, super interested in everything. But is it true? I mean, arguably not.
To want to see me, to hold me, look at me and think, well, you're the only one I want.
As Stolas says, to look at me, to say, you're the only one that I want, Blitz looks at him in that way. He looks at him in love and wonder with those sparkling eyes of emotion at this fully vulnerable, complete wreck of a being. And he looks at him in wonder and love and goes, he really does care. And Stolas is freaking out and he's getting really upset and saying that all he wants to do is just be loved. And that's kind of what everyone wants a lot of the time. Many people just want to be cared for and loved. There are some exceptions, but even if it's just platonic, a lot of people still want that love. And to see Stolas be so vulnerable and open about it and downright just call out the audience and say something that's so relatable, things that a lot of people have in their heads at all times, or most of the time. Some people who might be going through a rough patch might have this thought in their head all the time. And then to see a character like this opening up completely, pouring their heart out, saying how they feel, that can make them feel really recognized. And that's why I absolutely love this show. The writers, Viv, everyone. I've seen this on so many different forums or chat rooms. People who connect with the show on a very personal level because of how relatable it is to them and makes them feel validated. The fact that something like this media, fictional media, has the ability to, one, allow people to understand where they're going wrong in life and try and change things, and the hope that they can change through other characters. When they start to change, they'll be like, well, I can change as well. If he could change and he's done all these things, despite the fact that he's fictional, I can still change in this real world. The second thing is the fact that it can resonate with people who've gone through terrible, traumatic experiences and make their thoughts, experiences, and feelings feel validated. That they are a real, recognized issue. The emotions are valid, and the experience is a valid thing to have these emotions about. It's so unbelievably powerful. Great job, guys. Honestly.
I desire to hold you and talk to you, never let you feel so.
So there he's just explaining more about what he wants. He just wants someone to say, essentially, that they love him and care for him and want the best for him and will help him through that. He may be saying a lot of things here that may be hard to understand all at once, but ultimately they can all be boiled down to three things: love, care, and comfort. If someone can bring that to the table, they can love him, they can care for him, and they can be comfortable around him, and he can be comfortable around them. That is all he wants, and quite frankly, that's what most people really want. Whether it's a friend, a family member, or a partner, someone out there, regardless of whether it's platonic or romantic, it doesn't matter. All that really matters is that it's a loving and caring and comfortable environment. So yeah, Stolas' feelings are validated, and so are yours if you feel the same. But it's just the way in which he'll get that. Will he suffice for only Blitz? Does he love Blitz genuinely as a partner in that way? Or will he suffice for just a regular Joe? I mean, we may never know. Or maybe we will. Only time will tell. All we can do right now is just theorize.
You!
Did you hear the lyric then of that song in the background? Blitz is genuinely contemplating on whether to comfort Stolas or not. Is this the right time? Should I do this? He's having that inner conflict. He's constantly going back and forth, back and forth. You can see that conflict. It's so amazingly done in the animation and the mannerisms of the character. But it just says so much about Blitz, how he's trying to push himself out of that comfort zone without his comfort mask on. He may do things that are out of his base comfort zone already, but he has that mask on, and that mask just shields him from anything. For example, in this state now, he might not want to go skiing in fear of getting hurt. But he puts that mask on, and then he can go skiing whenever he wants. The fake confidence makes him a daredevil. But when that mask is gone, when it slips, it's when it all comes back to him. And everything that he's done, even with the mask on, just infects his mind and makes him feel like crap. So it really is not a good payoff at all. And also the fact that he just doesn't really enjoy it when he has the mask on. He thinks he does, and then he sits there and goes, I didn't even enjoy that skiing adventure because I wasn't fully present. But yeah, back to the lyric. What did the lyric say? It said, don't touch the pretty thing. Dude, that's so good, is it not? Those little touches is what makes Helluva Boss so great and unique. It's as if the world itself is trying to tell us and show through that Stolas is precious and shouldn't be touched. That Blitz, as he is too dirty, too broken and clumsy to interact with such a delicate figure. But it could also symbolize his inner conflict. Maybe that don't touch the pretty thing line could be exactly what his mental state is saying, just in a different manner. In his head, he could be saying, don't touch him, come on, don't. Just put that mask back on and be that Blitz. Be the Blitz that's most comfortable for you. Don't be your true self, be the Blitz that you built yourself up to be. So that little soundbite symbolizes those two things, especially that inner conflict in his mind. That could be the most probable answer, in my opinion. Great.
Why are you here? I don't want you here. Go home, please. Let me not feel so sad.
Against it. And he's trying so hard. And you can see he reaches for Stolas once again. But he himself, Bird Boy, he's an absolute wreck. Let's be honest, he's not getting out of this any better off, apart from the fact that he's just cried the hell out of himself. While on Earth, weirdly enough. He didn't comfort him. His mind won and he just receded back, ever so slightly. If you hear the music there, it says you couldn't handle me. It's as if Blitz has so much baggage already from himself and his own problems that he can't afford to take on Stolas' emotions and feelings. He's not in a place right now where he is the best version of himself, and therefore he doesn't have the capacity. And especially the fact that this is probably the most emotional he's been in front of another person or another being. He's not prepared, he's not ready yet. This is just step one to his elaborate journey of changing himself and becoming the best person of himself that he can be. It's not going to be that simple. He understands that he's not ready yet, and that's why when this guy comes over now, Blitz just lets it happen. And then, though he gets triggered when they start making out, through Verosika's help, he calms back down and says, well, I let it happen. I'm just going to keep letting it happen, because it's not harming him. He's just trying to get through the night unscathed, any way that he can. Escape those thoughts for one night, just let it happen. He's already drunk, there's not much else you could do. You've done your best. Right now, this is the best that Blitz could do. He's doing so well right now, I'm so proud of him. I'm always proud of both of them every time that they make a step forward to improvement. I'm proud of them both, though there are still some underlying negatives. But right now, Blitz is genuinely just trying his best for the best intentions. He's doing what he can, and though the inner conflict is sometimes winning, sometimes he is pushing past it and doing the things that he wouldn't normally do. Breaking free from those chains, those restrictions. Great job, man. Great job, Blitz. We love you. And Stolas, I've had enough talking about you, mate. I talked about you all last time, all the time before. I love Stolas as well. But right now, obviously, he's drunk, and I'm just kind of analysing the way that he thinks and how he truly feels, and not really the way that his conscious self and his very sober self deals with situations, which is what you would want to analyse usually anyway.
Hey.
Oh, hello.
Completely caught off guard, just saying. Just like, oh, wait, what? You're here? Wait, why?
Song earlier. You have great pipes.
Thank you.
Yeah, he sings fantastic. We're talking here.
You could see how his little smile went up then when he heard he's like, thank you. Aw. And then Blitz obviously trying to deflect it because he's getting a little bit jealous, but he does eventually just let it happen. So that is a great step there, isn't it? Though that guy could have been anyone with any intentions, but Blitz is still on the defensive right now for the wrong reasons. Not for those reasons in particular, more or less. Stolas is mine. He's my Stolas. Which is quite cute, actually.
Well, I just wanted to see if maybe, I don't know.
Just a little thing there. Blitz looks at him as if to weigh him up, be like, is he good enough? Oh god, he's kind of hot.
You'd want to dance?
You want...
Look at his face. He's not hiding it anymore. But that guy, he's so infatuated with looking at Stolas and trying to win him over. He doesn't know. That's Blitz, right? That's Blitz, man. One thing I can say about this guy is he's very goal-driven.
Dance? With me?
Yeah.
You can see the shock there in his 4 eyes. Absolutely flabbergasted, and Blitz is kind of saying, no, I don't want you to do this, but he's not outright saying no, because he knows that it's probably better, because he doesn't really like himself right now. Well, he doesn't love himself anyway, since he says, how can anyone love him? So he sees now that he doesn't want Stolas to leave, and he's trying to get that through in his emotions and his facial expressions, but really, deep down he knows, and kind of in his conscious mind right now, he knows that he doesn't love himself. And it is really sad, but ultimately, though it's through a very morbid and honestly depressing way, the fact that he thinks that he's not good enough, so he's just gonna let Stolas go off with this guy who seems better, it still results in a positive outcome, because Stolas has a good time, that guy has a good time, and then Blitz has this moment of realization, just goes, hey, I'm just gonna say good for him. So maybe, though this was done for complete wrong reasons, and he views himself so lowly at this point, it was because of the fact that he views himself so low, that it led to that learning moment later on down the line, later on in this episode. So really, it's a win. It's a very confusing one, but I still applaud him for it. And Stolas, have fun, dude. Have the fun that you deserve.
Okay.
See, he wipes it off then, and he's like, okay, I'll do it. That's just that little bit of joy. He probably wouldn't have left if he was sober, but all he wants to do right now is have a good time and forget about the negatives, and Blitz was bringing those back by talking about the situation and attempting to apologize. It was a great thing for him, and Blitz was in the right there, but because of the circumstances and where Stolas was and the reasons behind why he's doing this and why he's in this situation, that's what caused it a bit of downfall there. But obviously, it doesn't downplay the fact that he has come out of his comfort zone a little bit, so there that is. Left alone, he is saddened, and then he sees Verosika ready to ascend up those stairs. Well, 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 it seems we've got 3 minutes and 53 seconds to digest, so let's just get straight into it. No baloney. So by this point, we're aware that he's just had that conversation with Stolas, the drunken one, the drunken version of Stolas. And obviously he's already not happy, since that other demon interrupted their, might I say, really important conversation to ask Stolas to dance, which he looks at Blitz, and his drunken ass just decides to go along with it. So he's already taken that kick, but he sees Verosika, and he's like, here's my chance, she's on her own. I don't want to do it because of what's just happened, but I kinda have to, because she's the last one on the list, and also, she's probably one of the most important people out of anyone else on the apology tour, apart from Stolas, obviously. So Blitz doesn't want to do it, he's quite hesitant, because we know how he is. But he decides, here's my chance, let's just go.
Hey, Ver.
First thing that he says is hey Ver, which is obviously a nickname, and it seems like something obvious to point out, but it is quite clear that they were close. Since you wouldn't normally give someone a nickname or a pet name, something like that, if you weren't super close to them, or at least close to them in some way. So the fact that Blitz hasn't forgotten this says a lot about his character, that he does remember things from the past, and he does keep them quite dear to his heart. He's thought about Verosika previously, because he's not forgotten about her, he's not just tried to erase her. She's still in the back of his mind, because obviously, it was quite traumatic for both of them, which I'll get to soon, since both characters were broken by the breakup, if that makes sense. And it's also a complete contrast to in Spring Broken in Season 1, Episode 3, when Blitz is using her full name in a jokey, ridiculing sense, or even going as low as to straight up just use vulgar language to address her. But here, in this situation, it's completely different. We don't see any of that. Blitz is so broken by this point in the episode that he doesn't have energy to keep that mask up. And it's only when Verosika actually replies with something that triggers him that he puts his guard back up on his mask and just goes off at her, like you'll see in a minute, in straight up denial. But by this particular point, significantly lowered his guard down to talk to Stolas, especially drunk Stolas. You'll need a hell of a low boundary to understand that nonsense. And there you see it.
So, an apology tour, huh? You got a lot of balls coming here, Blitzo.
So obviously Verosika's immediately on her defensive, seeing the past that they've had with each other, and the way that it all ended, which I will explain later. She doesn't take him seriously, especially after what he did in the past and how he's acted, and also the fact that he's seen all these exes rise up one by one. Even Dennis, because he was recent. She's witnessed this party get bigger and bigger, which you might think is a good thing, but when it's a party like this, and the subject it's around, heartbreak, you realize that it's not. And the more people that join, the more it reinforces Verosika that Blitz hasn't changed. So what I'm getting at is that she's seen it grow, expand, and flourish in a way. And like I said, the more people that show up, the bigger the disconnect from her and Blitz, because she sees him as a terrible person, each and every time a new person shows up. That's why she's so psychotic, stabbing the cake in hatred. There's so much deep-rooted trauma that's not been healed. If anything, it's been built upon and strengthened each and every time this party occurs, which I'm guessing it's gone on for a couple of years now. Therefore, since I'm talking about Verosika at this point in time, I will say that I feel bad for her. But there are some holes in her operation that don't make it seem as justifiable as it actually is, which is, surprisingly, less than it's shown to be.
Yeah, I know. Everyone here hates me.
Yep.
See Blitz's face, he smiles then and looks at her, and then as he's saying it, he just drops a little bit more and looks back down at presumably Stolas. I'm guessing it is him, since he's keeping a close eye on him dancing, and it's only when he looks away to talk to Ver. Am I allowed to say that? Ver? I don't know. I'm just gonna say it because it's quicker. That he then misses the big moment, or just catches it as Ver notices. Okay, the more I say Ver in a sentence, the less it makes sense, because it kind of blends in with the rest of the words in the sentence. I'll mix it up. Hopefully you know what I'm talking about. And if you look at Verosika, she's trying to play it off cool, like she's not affected. If you think about it, when we see Verosika in a minute, the camera angle is at a side profile. That's presumably what Blitz sees right now. Obviously, the scene direction and the camera for us is different. We can see her actual emotions and facial expressions, but Blitz can only see it from the side. It's as if she's trying to hide it from him. Because personally, this is how I interpret it. When she growls and gets angry, her facial expressions curve more towards the left, where Blitz can't see, because she doesn't want to show him that she's affected, so she's doing it all on one side. She's getting angry where he can't see it, that blind spot. That's how I interpret it anyway, because it's just a kind of cool thing that if you pick up on and you interpret it like that, it just makes the scene even better in my opinion.
That's the point, dumbass.
See how she's so quick to judge? Like, she immediately turns around and is like, dumbass. Not interested in hearing what he has to say because she thinks that immediately he's just gonna outburst and take the piss out of her. Which he does, don't get me wrong, but it's still wrong to assume. In my personal opinion, you should always be the best version of yourself, even if you don't like a person, because there's always a chance that they've changed. Obviously, we know Blitz hasn't fully yet. He's trying to and he wants to, which he says in a minute, but he just needs that wake-up call, and he's not had that yet. This party, really, is the best thing for him. It's good that he snuck in, because he notices all these little things. And you might be wondering, hey Cryptid, the scene's only 2.5 minutes long. Why does the video file go up to 3 minutes 25 seconds? That's because I've added the last bit where he's walking out and looking around at the party, because in my opinion there's a lot of symbolism and impact there that people don't mention. There's also Verosika's song in the background which we can listen to at the same time. So that's your explanation. Let's just get on with the scene that's in the title.
So what, you're waiting for your sorry?
Oh, fuck you little prick.
Well, I'm sorry for always telling it like it is, sister.
Rightfully so, she's mad. I feel like that's a given. That seems legal to me. Like I said, she has these expectations of what he's going to be like, which, though are flawed, we can see where they come from. The amount of shared experiences, especially recent of Blitz, she's bound to keep that grudge for longer and longer every time, like I said. Though there is also another reason why she's so affected by this, and it does tie into their relationship previously, which I'll get to in a minute, which I'm so excited to get to. Let's just go. Okay, I did just pause it 2 seconds after them, but I noticed that her expression kind of shifted to more embarrassment, which, you know, the tension is building. I have my theory right now, but I don't want to say it. I'm waiting for the bit that I want to say it at, but just know this is kind of a big thing. The way she's embarrassed by the fact that Blitz is shouting at her. It's because of something, and I'm going to hint it. There's something there that's made this so shameful for her. It's not just being insulted. She gets insulted all the time. She's a pop star. I get insulted. I've got 2,000 subscribers. By this point, she's probably used to it. So it's not the insults themselves. It's who it's coming from. Someone she cared so dearly and deeply about. That's where it is. That's where it's rooted. In that past. And obviously, I've said this multiple times in previous videos. Blitz is immediately on the defensive, on the attack. He's defending himself by attacking first. He wants to get the first jab in to hopefully damage the other person's ego and mood enough that they can't fight back. He wants to win the argument because that's what makes him feel most triumphant. He's like, I've won. And then he goes home and cries himself to sleep about it. He doesn't want to do this. He doesn't want to react this way, but he has no other way to react. As I say a lot, it links back to his childhood. He could never get a word in. He couldn't explain himself. He either had to listen to the ones who were above him and bow down to them, or if it was someone of similar level or someone who was higher but a lot more accommodating or nice to Blitz, if anything went wrong, he'd just fight back. He'd lash out in anger because the anger built up from those higher above, his dad, the royals, all these people from his past, all these entities that he's come across that have treated him like crap, and he's just been a slave to his entire life. All that pent up rage, as soon as he finds someone who's nice or someone on a similar level, such as another imp, immediately if there's something that he doesn't like, he'll take out his rage on that being, try and belittle them into irrelevance, as if he wants to just get rid of them through insults. He's pushing everyone away, and obviously his ego, the mask that he puts on, sees himself as above Verosika. But when he goes home and he's on his own, that mask is gone. It's just him and his thoughts. He's jealous of Verosika because she can do all these things. She can be happy. She can grow from the past. And even though she does keep these grudges that are a big character flaw for her personally, she's still doing better than Blitz. She is, really. She can think logical in tense situations. She takes a deep breath or a smoke or whatever she does in a minute and just tries to explain things as calmly as possible. Obviously, she gets a bit tensed up when it comes to the things that really affect her and the things that she still remembers on a regular basis. But most of the time, she can try and keep her composure, which is great for her because she's doing very well. And obviously, she's not a main character like Blitz, so I don't need to tell her that she's doing great. And she's fictional, but hey, who cares? I'm here, I'll say what I want. I'm proud of Verosika, despite the fact that we've only seen her 3 times. The amount of confidence that she has, that's genuine confidence. Inner confidence, not outer confidence. Confidence within herself. She's confident in her own being. That's true confidence. Blitz's confidence is on the outside. It's the mask that he puts on. That's the confidence. That's not real confidence. That's not real confidence, in my opinion. And obviously, it's in my opinion, so you can completely debate that very civilly and kindly in the comments if you do so please. But I see true confidence, in quotes, as inner acceptance and self-love. That's what radiates good confidence. Really, it's just love, care, and acceptance for yourself, and it comes off to everyone else as confidence. Many forms of confidence that we all use, including myself, I'll be honest, is that fake confidence, that outer confidence. Sometimes we can be doing really well and have so much self-love and inner confidence, but we might get caught in the moment and say some things or act a certain way, do something that we may regret later on, which is fine. We can always learn from that and grow as long as you know and acknowledge that and accept it and say it happened, I can't change the past, but what I can do is try and correct myself in the future. Whenever I'm in that situation again, as long as I'm mindful, that's what keeps my inner confidence radiating around me. If I just forget the mask and whenever I see it seeping onto my face, I just kick it off and say, no, I'm going to be my authentic, true self. That's what it is. And that's what Verosika has in a very twisted way. Because though it's not fully, there's still some mask there. Because obviously she's a singer. She has to have that mask. And she very literally has an alter ego on Earth that goes by the same name, but has to act human. So there's obviously a form of masking in everything. But the fact that she's doing so well, we've not even seen any flashbacks or how she used to act. But what I can infer from this relationship and her past by theorizing, I can tell that she's grown a lot and she's proud of it. And Blitz is jealous of it. That's why he's so defensive here, because he's seen how far she's come. That's why he's immediately on that. He's like, I'm gonna challenge that. I'm gonna challenge what you just said. It's honestly heartbreaking to see. And I say this a lot, but really, is there another word? Like, dude, it's so good and well orchestrated. And the way they've written these characters is honestly one of the best things I've ever seen. Yet it's still so incredibly saddening and depressing to see these characters in such a way. Even though I've just ranted about all the positives, to see Blitz in this situation is really upsetting, but we can look at the positive light of it and say that he is looking to change, which is great for him.
I'm just being honest. I'm sorry for dumping you. Sorry for not falling head over heels for you. Or
look at her face. She's so upset about this because Blitz is hitting that spot, scratching that unpleasant itch, peeling that scab that's trying to heal, attempting to bring things back, things that he knows in that moment will affect her because she's so upset by it, which I'll get to why in a minute. I'm really leading you on here, aren't I? I'm sorry, but it just has to be the right moment when we've got all that info. And I do feel for both characters. And if you look at my other analysis, you can see why, because I talk a lot about Blitz on those other ones, whereas this video is more Verosika focused, so I'm going to focus more on her. But still, Blitz, there's a lot going on with him right now. What an excellent show. Why is it so good?
that guy, or fucking Dennis, or anyone at this stupid fucking party.
I will say that was quite funny. I'm not gonna lie, I laughed at my reaction to this, and I'm still laughing now. This is a perfectly placed joke because it's so Blitz to do this. It's so this version of Blitz. Anyway, it's the masked version of Blitz. It's so this Blitz that we know and love of him to react like this. And that is what makes this scene great. They're not yanking us away from that character that we've known for so long. They're not just gonna flip it on its head and suddenly Blitz is gonna show emotions. It's gonna take time, and they know that. That's why they've added that joke. Because the writers know that it's not that simple. We would have said something about it if Blitz just immediately switched up and started being so emotional. He's gonna react like this, and it's only when he has that realization, when he snaps and goes, oh crap, I need to think about this. Like, he says some things, that's his character. We know that's his character. Even though we don't see much emotion of him, we do know that when he realizes something, he'll say something else, but then go completely silent, which that's exactly what he does. That's what he did in Full Moon. When Stolas cried and sent him out, he tried to say that he was sorry, but all he did was sit there in disbelief. And obviously the episode ended with the longest F word I've ever heard, but we can tell that after that, that was it. He was silent, and that's what he's like here. He says something saying that he wants to change. Well, in a minute he says that. He says that he wants to change. He does get a bit emotional, but the thing is, if he got too emotional, that'd be out of character. For Blitz and Blitz only, this version of him right now, we know that when he realizes something, he'll say a certain thing, but then immediately drop it because he doesn't understand fully and he needs some time to process. That's Blitz's way of responding to these kinds of big moments. He won't go off on a rant and he won't say nothing. He'll say something, something, just a little something, and then go radio silent. That's the Blitz that we know to be in these types of situations. He did it in Truth Seekers, for crying out loud. We've seen this of Blitz. That's why this scene is so well done, because it's in character.
You are so fucking shitty! Do you hear yourself?
Verosika snaps. She tried to keep it calm, but upon saying that, and especially, I think though she's affected by it, she's still in that mindset of trying to help everyone at the party, and as soon as Blitz talks about everyone else, it's not just about her, she knows that. He was screaming things about her before this, all the way back to season 1, episode 3. All the insults, all those deep cuts, everything. Yet she didn't react, even in her first debut. She just walked off or teased in front of her friends. But as soon as Blitz mentions everyone else, the people that she's trying to protect and heal, that's when she fights back. This part of the scene truly shows how far Verosika's come. She's so vastly different to Blitz. And though, like I said, we don't really know what she used to be like, but like I said, we can create our own storylines and drill in our own screws to make the timeline stable and make sense. And that's what I'm doing. I'm insinuating that I think that Verosika was vastly different while she was with Blitz, and she's changed so much after that. But if you think about it again, it goes all the way back to when she was dating with Blitz because she cared about him. She said that she loved him, which, foreshadowing, I'll get to in a minute, she's learnt to care for people and prioritize the broken and weak over herself. That's the definition of a hero, someone who places the weak and vulnerable above themselves. So in many ways, Verosika completely contrasts her entire species because she doesn't care about the lust part of it, or at least anymore. She cares more for others instead of her own pleasure. And one other thing that I will get to in a minute. Just keep the idea of lust in your head. In a PG way, please. I know this is a show, but like, I know it's an adult show, but you know what I mean.
Everyone's shitty. Hello, we live in hell.
Blitz uses that as an excuse, saying it's okay because we live in hell and people are shitty down there, therefore I can be shitty wherever I want. And that's obviously not how it works. Everyone here is free to be who they are, who they want to be. They can be better than the stereotypes. A lot of them feel trapped because of where they're from. Oh, you're from the Rathrin? You're just a filthy imp. You're an imp, even? Not even where you're from, you're just that species? You're immediately all these things. There's so many boundaries that people put on you, not just in this world, in real life. People put boundaries on you because of your age, your gender, your sexuality, all these different things that tie together to create a personality. Yet many of us don't use it to our full potential because we're following someone else's boundaries. When someone puts a wall there for us to hold us back because of who we are or whatever they think their opinions, which don't really matter, that's what's holding us back from our true potential. It's all these different opinions from people who don't matter. There's so many different examples of this. What does your gender matter when it comes to your job? What does your age matter when it comes to your intelligence or maturity? There's so many different things that are all capped with a certain boundary by some people, some guys who have an opinion. You guys might have an opinion right now that you disagree with me on, about either what I'm saying right now or the episode, the scene, my opinions, my interpretations. As long as you're civil about it and calm and give your view on it, I might not take your advice, but I will listen to it if you structure it well enough, because I know that you're a trustworthy individual. I know that we work on the same wavelength, that you will listen to my opinion if I listen to yours, and that's what's great about this channel. It draws in so many people who are willing to learn and give their opinions on a subject, even something this small. Don't let other people hold you back. Walk around that wall. Hell, most of them are just made out of cardboard. Just knock them over. Walk straight through. They mean nothing. Maximize your potential. Do what you want to do. The only things that really matter are the laws, but even they can be flawed in certain places. It's a real mixed bag and a bunch of controversy that I might not understand, and I don't want to get into. But I will say that if something's holding you back, just ask yourself, is it that important? If I did this, what would be the consequences? It'll always vary from the communities that you're in and where you come from. Anyway, that's my pep talk.
Why am I all of a sudden the bad guy just for sucking at relationships?
Are you expecting sympathy?
We can see there that Verosika chucks away that cigarette, that coping mechanism, that thing that's keeping her calm. That's what smoking is widely used for, to calm people down. She doesn't have a drink to fall back to. The only thing she had was that cigarette that would have calmed her down. Or rather, it would, in her mind, calm her down. And the fact that that's gone, flicked away like nothing, she's given up hiding from it. It's right here, Blitz is here right in front of her. She's gonna say what she wants to say and express how she actually feels about it. Turning off that filter, being honest. She says in a minute that it was embarrassing for her. She opens up and gives that, even though Blitz doesn't really deserve it. In her eyes, at least. Blitz doesn't matter. To her, Blitz knowing how she feels doesn't matter because it's not like they're together, they're not friends, but she wants him to grow. She's attempting to give him that chance that no one else was going to give him before. She still cares for him, obviously, because she throws this entire party. Even Stolas says this. She wants what's best for him, and she knows that it's so hard for him to do. She might not know about his past because he would have hidden it deep-rooted, but she does have a hunch because she knows that there's a chance, and there always is.
Oh, Aw, poor Blitz. Finally having to own that his actions affect other people's fifis. Bitch, please.
Look at Blitz's face. He's not angry, he's kind of confused and sad at the same time, and Verosika's mocking him, which makes him seem smaller. One thing that he doesn't want. He doesn't want to seem smaller, and that is what Ver is making him feel. Lesser, like he always has, and that's what's put him off, because he feels like a lesser being, which he would normally lash out at, but he's already lashed out. Why lash out more? There's nothing left in him. He's been drained from the night. He's lashed out again, and then when that one thing that would usually piss him off has been said, which is him being put down and seen as lesser, he just doesn't have the energy or passion to fight back against it anymore. Because all that's on his mind is Verosika and Stolas at this point. Whatever Stolas is doing, and it's kind of sidetracked at the moment because he's more focused on Verosika, but he keeps switching, you can see, because he keeps looking back at Stolas and then looking back at Verosika. His attention is changing, but those two things that he's switching between, nothing else matters anymore. The emotions don't. He's just feeling those genuine emotions and sinking deep into them.
How do you think I felt when the fun guy I was dating decided to just bail on me because I made the shitty mistake of saying I love...
There it is. What can I say? The honest truth is that it seems Blitz was the only person that she ever opened up to and said that she loved. She loved him. That's a strong word, just like hate is. Hate and love are both strong words. And she used love. How powerful is that? And here is where the connotation comes in. The thing that I've been leading up to this entire time, what species is Verosika? She's a succubus. What are succubus supposed to do? Like I said, hold on to lust. They are beings filled with lust. That's all they're there for. But the fact that she found feelings and she disconnected from her own being, her own stereotype, she maximized her personality, pushed past those boundaries set upon them. Their own species, how they were wired. That's like a robot going rogue. She's pushed past those boundaries and learned how to be better. Learn how to feel genuine emotion. And the fact that that all came crashing down, that's a big insecurity moment for her, because she has all this shame from being a succubus and having all these things connotated towards her, that a lot of the time she does just relish in it, doesn't she? In episode 3, her song, it's mainly focused around the act of lust. She wallows in it just like a lot of people do. When you can't escape, let's go back to Angel Dust from Has Been Hotel, he can't escape, so he uses sex to escape from the real world that he can't escape by going into this fictional world, this world that he thinks is great, but as soon as he's out of that trip, he's back into reality, and he's bound there. He's bound there through a soul contract. Whereas Verosika is bound in the situation by the stereotypes, by her being, the limits of her. It's not as simple as being in a deal. Not to downplay Angel in any way, or say that he has it easier, but the fact that she's wired to not feel love, coming out of that, breaking that norm, can be terrifying and scary, shameful. A lot of people feel like outcasts, astray from the norm. Well, if you think about it, there is no norm, but that's an entire new thing. But just go into that mindset and thinking about it. Being a quote-unquote outcast and away from everyone else. Being different. That's what Verosika is, because she's different. And she has that tattoo that she crossed out Blitz's name in a love hat. She loved Blitz. And the fact that he said that he supposedly, because obviously it's not fully true, doesn't like her back, doesn't love her back, that really hit, because it's a place of insecurity. Because like I said, that's how succubi and incubi are programmed in this series. So whenever this is brought up, and why she holds such a grudge, is because she opened up and went far beyond the expectation of what she was supposed to be, and to see that that all came crashing down in an instant with Blitz's simple phrase of no. Or it could have been even worse. He might have screamed at her like he does and lashed out, we don't know. But really, if you think about it, that's not really worse. A simple no is a lot more impactful than a scream and shout, but either way it hurt her. Doesn't matter how it played out, because she's held on to this. And maybe that's why Blitz wanted to date her in the first place, because he was under the impression that not only was he himself was an imp and had no real chance because of the stereotype that they're all dirty and weak and all these different things and just slaves. He thought, I'd have no chance with a succubi, there's no way this will last. There's also the thought that, like I said, they are said to be purely sexual and full of lust. No love allowed. That's what Blitz would have thought at the time. That's why, one of the reasons possibly why, he dated her, because he didn't think it'd last long. It'd just be a bit of a thrill, for one. And for two, nothing would come of it, because that is how the world around him stereotyped those specific species. A big conglomerate mess of a bunch of different factors all merged together to create one sad stereotype. Really well done. Damn, these guys are so amazing. Why are they so good? Anyway, I'm simping for Helluva Boss again, guys. The writers, the animators, they're just too good. The team. And the sound design. Sorry, I had to say that. Sound design. Pretty cool.
It was the most embarrassing feeling to be vulnerable for once, and you really just know how to send a message in the shittiest fucking way.
First thing, Blitz is fed up. He just doesn't want to respond anymore, and this is where he realizes. Yeah, that little realization. This is one of the first realizations in this speech here, this little interaction. First realization is like, I can't do this anymore, and then when Stolas kisses that guy, that's another one. That's his second realization, the big one. But then Verosika saying that she's embarrassed and saying that for once, to be vulnerable for once. Like I said, I was already alluding to this. It's so uncommon. She's breaking from that norm, and when she did, she was immediately dismissed, broken down, exploded into a pile of ashes. Everything that she built came crashing down before her. All that confidence, all gone, supposedly. That's what she would have thought at that moment, that it was all gone, that there was no point. Which we can tell her that it's not true. We can say, oh, it's not true. But really, you can't convince someone to get out of that state, especially so quickly after it would have happened at that point in time. To see how she's grown from that, even though it's still there, deep-rooted, and when it comes up, it's horrible, and those thoughts are negative and disgusting, really hard and uncomfortable to sit through, but she does it and does it like a bloody champ. And obviously, I've simped for Blitz enough, so I think it's time that I give some of the spotlight to the side characters, because I really want to get into Millie and Moxie at some point. I'm hoping they show up. When are they going to show up? When are they going to have another moment together? Because it seems to be a lot of Blitz and Stolas, which I love, but I also want to show that it's not just them that I love. I love every single character in the show, man. Therefore, I'm glad that I've managed to analyze Verosika, someone else, a difference. That's just great for me personally, because I wanted to branch out, man. Same show, but more characters. It's just the time and place, isn't it? It's just where it's showing up. That's all.
The worst part is you still make me feel like a bad person for being angry at you now.
Okay, first thing, that is true. But, like I've said before, it's not all Blitz's fault. The person that he's become was not because of his own doing. He's emphasized it and grown upon it and made it more normal for him and made it an instinctual reaction. But it's through the trauma and the horrors of his childhood and his upbringing that's brought this abhorrent behavior to life, all the way up to the present now. But then, Verosika, we can see here, she kicks that bar out the way and sits down next to Blitz, completely contrasting him. Blitz is sat behind the bars. He's trapped. Those bars, that ledge, he doesn't have that chance. You ever watch Into the Spider-Verse where he jumps off that Miles, jumps off that building? That's his freedom. That's the freedom. No railings, no bars, no chains to hold you back. Obviously, he's Spider-Man. That's a difference. And that leap of faith is exactly what Verosika did. She kicked away that bar. She got away out of that prison, out of that comfort zone. And like I've said before, expanded that comfort zone from beyond the bars, beyond the prison. Right now, Blitz is stuck in many ways. He's stuck with his relationships, his life, the person that he is. He's not changing. Though he's trying, he's still coming across as this awful person that everyone views as bad. But now he's given up and he's just settling behind there. And behind those bars are his comfort zone. But Verosika was in the same spot. Don't worry about that, dude. She was there with you. She just managed to evolve from that. She kicked away that bar. She let the horrors in. The horrors of the outside world. Blitz hides behind that, hides in that cage, because when he's in that cage, he's safe. The cage symbolizes the person that he is now, and what's beyond it is the person that he can become. And where is Stolas? He's beyond that. He's outside the cage. He's down there, off the ledge. That leap of faith, that's what this symbolizes. Verosika kicks away those bars, lets the horrors in, and accepts all those horrors and gets through it, and it must have been really hard for her and uncomfortable for her, but look at her now. She can sit there. She can sit there and comfortably say that she can sit behind the bars, in between, or outside. There's nothing of worry. If she wants to stay back there, she can. If she wants to dip her feet in to the other side, to outside of that cage, she can. But most of all, if she wants to, she could drop down from that ledge, catch herself safely, obviously, and go party with everyone else. But as we can see, Blitz can't, and that's really unfortunate.
But hosting this party for everyone else you've dicked over, at least I can help others cope with the shit you did.
This is where Blitz realizes all the horrors that he's committed. The fact that there's people still crying all over this place, in absolute peril, thirsting for someone to hold them, and they get that here. And that's what's wonderful about Verosika's operation, because they get that place for closure. Though you can only have so much, you can't hate him forever, because you'll just keep bringing it back. You need to move on. And that's where I think there's some flaws in that operation. People are still invited from years before. People who would have been cured by now, if they would have just gone through the right procedures and managed to move move on like Verosika has done. Though she's still doing this party, so she still cares about Blitz and she's always reminded of him. She needs to move on from that situation. Get that closure. Even if you don't get that closure, find your own way of getting that closure safely and securely. Even if it's not like this, where you can throw knives at his head. If you can find that way to get closure, even if it's just becoming a better person, you can look at yourself in the mirror and say, I love myself, and that's your form of closure. It doesn't have to be Blitz related. It's just having inner confidence and loving yourself, like I've said this entire time. You don't have to keep thinking about Blitz to get that closure and move on. It can simply be in improving yourself that you can get that. But clearly Verosika's not got that yet because she has this constant reminder. And though she's doing amazing things trying to help, it's the execution that's a bit rocky. And as I said in my all to you analysis, she expects every instance of someone becoming an ex of Blitz's to be a horrible, heartfelt, saddening situation. Whereas it could be as simple as, we're just not compatible, we need to move on. It doesn't have to be this big thing all the time. But Verosika's so rooted in that though she's trying to help, she does have that twisted view of Blitz and expecting everything to be negative around him, where he could change at any time. Someone else who's not Verosika could have spoke to him, he could have had that wake-up call, and his next ex was on good terms. But Verosika was still inviting him over here, just like they did with Stolas. Even though that was a bad situation, if Blitz would have changed previously, she wouldn't have known that and still expected it to be a horrible, outrageous situation. So there are the holes that I noticed when I was watching this. Though it's still great, don't get me wrong.
What? No snarky comeback?
No. You're right.
And there it is, acceptance. I've seen someone talk about this. Blitz went through all the stages of grief. I think there's 7 stages of grief, or 6, 7. He went through all of them in this episode, and it's a big symbolic thing. But obviously, I don't analyze the entire episodes in full, because that would take me like 10 hours. But it is really cool to see that this is the form of acceptance. It's right next to someone who, honestly, he does still love deep down. Even if not romantically, he still cares for in a way, because why else would she be on the list? Granted, he was just writing random people down half the time, and just doing it to get back at Stolas, but that still begs the question. Why was he so apprehensive as to talking to her? Like I said, there was a bit of hesitance previously before this. It goes way deeper than just that. Honestly, Blitz, I love you, but you really need to get your act together, buddy, and I'm just saying that because I can and it's funny. I do know, and I do notice that it's going to be hard, and it will take a long while. You're doing great, though. This is step 1 to improvement. True, authentic improvement. It's that acceptance.
I actually am, sorry.
The first genuine sorry of the day, and it's to someone who had such an incredible journey with Blitz. Someone who he holds so deeply to his heart, and they hold him at the same place, even if they don't think about it that much and think of themselves as hating each other. It's still there. This genuine sorry means a lot. A whole lot more than people think. It's a turning point for him. Lovely.
I don't want to be this way. Not forever.
Now, I could digest that entire line for ages, but I think it speaks for itself, doesn't it? He doesn't want to be this way. He wants to change. This is where he realizes that he wants to make that change. He wants to be a better person. He's seen Verosika and he's been inspired. At first, he was envious. And then, as he realized, he calmed down and went, hey, that could be me. I could be just as well as Verosika is doing. Or as it seems, because obviously he doesn't know there's that entire grudge. He doesn't think about that right now. All he thinks about is what Verosika is. And that is a lot more improved than he is. I'll say it, it's honest. She's improved a lot more than he has. That's not entirely his fault though, is it? And we can't just get into all that. It's not Blitz's fault. It's obviously not his fault. I'm not going to rant about it. You understand what I'm trying to get across. It'll be a lot harder for Blitz to improve. But the fact that he's seen that someone else has improved, that's given him the hope to change. Obviously, she's about to be a little bit devious now, but one thing she does notice is that if there's someone who truly belongs at this party, at this hate Blitz party, we hate Blitz, there's one person who belongs there, it's himself. She realizes that. She knows that Blitz doesn't love himself. And she smiles at the idea that he can improve, that he's realized that and said sorry. She's got her closure. Like I said, she could have done it way quicker through other means. But that doesn't disregard the fact that she's still improved, though now she has got the closure that she wanted. But one thing I can't advocate for is this, if that makes sense. There's always better ways of finding that closure and feeling fulfilled. Verosika's just incredibly lucky to have that moment. So congratulations, all power to her. But now she's trying to lighten the mood and make things a little bit, better for him, more comfortable, because Blitz does work through humor. I said that in Full Moon. If Stolas was more casual and less serious and didn't come across as out of the blue, Blitz may have taken it a little bit better, even just that little bit. So Verosika does know Blitz, and she's more observant than Stolas, let's be honest. because she's not all caught up in her own feelings. She just realized when Blitz comes here, immediately, what the best way to react is. And I do say immediately, she did snap at him first, but as soon as she thinks, she has that moment of clarity, she goes, okay, here's the best way to deal with it. That just shows how much more observant that she is. Further emphasizing the fact that she's been trying to improve others and help others, instead of thinking about herself all the time and her own closure. To be fair, one form of closure for her could be holding this party. Though we all do know that it's not the only way. She did really want, deep down, she wanted this true closure by talking to Blitz. And she got it.
Looks like Stolas is having a good time.
Yeah, well, he needs it.
Yeah, well, he needs it. Blitz is truly growing. Even in this little moment, he's already beginning that change. Though he does now, you'll see.
Really good time.
And obviously Verosika's trying to lighten it with the humor, but yeah, Blitz is very effective by this, so it would have probably worked if it was just them two, but because of the situation, you tried Ver, but it didn't truly work, unfortunately.
Oh, that bird-stealing cockback!
He's immediately on the rage again, but then obviously Verosika jumps in here and says,
Hold it, Blitz. You know, if you want to change, it just starts with saying, good for him. Hope he gets laid.
I think Verosika did a really good job of explaining that in such a little time there. Straight up saying it how it is, because Blitz needs that direct speech. He doesn't need any innuendos at this point in time, even though he makes a lot of them. He doesn't need jokes, like I said, he does use them a lot. Verosika notices this because she does make a joke and it doesn't go down well, so she thinks, what's the next thing on my list? Just fetching it from my memory. Yeah, PC reference there, get it guys? Here it is, here's what I've got next for you. It's just a direct call out. It's just saying how it is, how you should act right now, and it's always good to have that friend. Even though they're not really friends, it's always great to have that person who looks out for you. Because when you get caught in the moment with that mask on, if you have a true friend or someone who truly cares for you and wants the best for you, they can call you out on your crap, if you know what I mean. And through that, you can improve and you can catch yourself in that moment and go, wait, I'm not going to put that mask back on. I'm just going to be my genuine, authentic self because I want that. And my friend knows that I want that and they want the best for me. Therefore, they're going to call me out and I might not like it in that moment, but I'll still listen because I know deep down that that's what's best and that's what I truly want. Because you'll be so much happier if you're yourself. If you present as yourself, your true self. On my videos, I am my true self, I'm just a lot louder because I have to emphasize things in order for you guys to listen. Most of the time when I'm watching this stuff, it's all in my head, it's mental. I analyze things in my head. When I'm making the videos, it goes to vocal. Therefore, there is a difference between that version of me when I'm just on my own and when I'm on the microphone. Because if I was truly my authentic self on here, you won't be able to hear anything, there'd be no audio. Therefore, you do need to tune yourself a little bit, but as long as you're your true self, like I am, I'm telling you now, this is me, this is my authentic, true me, just a little bit louder, just a little bit amped up, turn the volume up a little bit. That's what you want to achieve, or what I think is the general consensus on what you want to achieve. But obviously, if you want different, go ahead and do different. I'm not forcing you on anything, I'm just saying this is what I think's best. I can only give my opinion, I don't have another second person who disagrees with me right now. So if you disagree, be my guest, very sophisticated, casual, keeping it calm in the comments. Shoot me over a respectful comment and let me know what you disagree with. And if you agree with me, let me know too. That's great, I always read them.
Here, have some cake, fuckwad.
Gives him the cake, and guess what? It's a heart. Ain't that nice? It's the heart with the fork in, which I guess could mean something, broken heart or something like that, but I'm just not smart enough to pick it up. Though it is symbolic that Verosika's given the heart, because really, in a sense, she's just given her heart to Blitz. Not in a romantic way. What I'm getting at is that she's opened up to him, and through her heart come her words. Instead of thinking from her head, which she does do a little bit of when she has to switch the conversation a bit, but most of the time when she's venting, it's coming all from the heart. And it's only when she's talking to Blitz about Blitz does she use her head. When she's expressing her point and how she feels, she's talking through her heart. She's talking through her heart. Genuine through her heart. But when she's talking about Blitz, when she's saying something to him, she's using her head, since that is where all of the visual and body language cues come from. Obviously, your heart's not like a brain. It's not got a memory. That's just where the feelings are in a spiritual sense. So, to summarize, she thinks with her head when she's talking about Blitz to Blitz, or trying to calm him down, or trying to be smart about things. But when she's speaking about herself and her own experiences, straight from the heart, baby. Absolutely. Everyone who works on the show, whoever was in part of this scene, just the show in general, but this scene that I'm analyzing right now, you guys are absolutely phenomenal. You should pat yourself on the back. Honestly, this stuff is amazing. I've never seen anything like it. People who have so much love for a show. It's amazing. And I did say I'll go through Verosika's song, but I don't think I will, because it kind of speaks for itself, doesn't it? I'll just go through the scene that follows.
I wanted you.
Blitz is covering his face. He's done that this entire episode, but now he feels even more shameful. He's got it covered even more because he just doesn't want to be seen right now because he's so ashamed of himself. But really, it's probably the best thing to be ashamed of who you are. It's horrible. If you can look at that in a positive sense and say, I'm ashamed of this person that I am. But on the good hand, it's not I'm going to be ashamed and I'm going to cry. It's I'm ashamed of who I am right now and where I'm at. Therefore, I'm going to use that as a driving force to change. That's how you should look at it. Because it's not a negative thing to be embarrassed of yourself. In certain situations, when it comes down to you, it's the most important thing. It's acceptance. And if you simply can't get that embarrassment away from you and you can't think without that embarrassment coming to mind, take it on board and view it positively. There are certain situations in life where you'll have no embarrassment, but you will still want to change and you'll know that you're a piece of crap, so you just accept it and you build on it. Sometimes you will feel embarrassed of who you are and that embarrassment won't go away. It'll always fluctuate. So whether there is embarrassment or there isn't, always just let it on board, accept it. Acceptance is the first way, the first step to improvement.
So now I'm drawing circles in the sand, trying to understand how you do the things you do.
He's seeing here how people are making connections with their mutual hate for him. He's seeing here everyone in the party just straight up hating him. There's no other way to say it, because that's what it's for. The party's for hating Blitz, and everyone does hate Blitz here. Or so they think, because do you truly hate? That's all subjective. There are a lot of things that can be said about that, so I'm not going to say a lot. Honestly, I don't even have my own opinion on it. I'm just putting that out there for you guys to think about. So my question of the day, which I've just came up with now, is, can you truly hate? There we go, in the comments. But yeah, he's seeing people that he might not have seen for ages. He might have, I've said this before, he might see an individual and think, hey, I've not seen you for 4 years. Why are you still grieving? I left you all those years ago. This is the final realization moment of the episode, which the one before this was when obviously he sees those two kissing, Stolas and that guy. Just wanted to make that clear. But this is the last one, and it's when he realizes the impact that his actions have. He already got that through Verosika, but to see everyone else, so many more people, not just Verosika, who he thinks personally he had a genuine connection with, all these other people, it's not just her. It's people who he might not even cared about one, but even if he was a better person, he still didn't care about them. It might have just been one night stands, though they're still grieving over him. And that's where he sees the true impact, the magnitude of his actions, and how they still linger all those years on. Though on the other hand, he doesn't really notice this. He looks, but he doesn't notice, and he might think about it when he's in a clearer headspace. People are connecting over their hate for him. So really, though you should never be like this, if you can avoid this way of thinking and acting, it's always great. But if you are in this situation somehow, in some way, shape or form, always take the positives out of it and say, hey, don't look back on the past. Don't look back in anger, if you know what I mean. Because you can't change the past. Just take the goods out of the past. Look at the negatives and go, I'm going to improve on them. In the past, I did this, this and that. I never want to do that again. I don't want that to happen again. At least not by my own doing. So I'm going to improve on that in the present for the future. But other than that, look back on those days and think, hey, I did do some good things. Even if it was indirect, people still made connection. So there's the good that you can take out of it, Blitz. It's not always bad, though you do still need to change. Just know that you're not the worst thing. There's still hope. It's weird how the song says I'm over you when he looks at Stolas. I know it says it like 50 times in this song, but it's just something to know. Or at least in Blitz's eyes, even if it's not a universal thing said by Verosika at this specific point and it's a direction for the animators and the writers, if you think about it, it's more possible, since this view of Stolas is seen from Blitz's eyes. The fact that this part of the song plays when Blitz is looking at Stolas, it shows how Blitz views Stolas now. He views Stolas as moving on, as, like Verosika says, over him. Squints. Ready to cry, honestly. It's really upsetting for him because he is trying hard. Yeah, he walks out in sorrow and gets in his car, and what does he do? He faceplant straight onto the horn. Like I said, a little bit of words, that realization moment, but then no words. That's the Blitz that we know. That's why this scene is amazing. There it is. I've said it. Yeah, hear that. And that was it. A great scene for a great show. And I'm going to go to the end bit here, just, you know, because it's always great to have that end frame open while we end this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Click a video on screen that best suits you. The one on the right was people YouTube just for you, and the one on the left is my most recent video. And I'll see you guys later. Stay positive. Goodbye.